Very good morning to all of you. Today is our last class with respect to GST, and next this Saturday we will complete the statutory provision, statutory amendments. So by this our course would be completed. So I have two more classes. Very good morning, Geet, and good morning, Sanjay. So today we are going to discuss the miscellaneous provisions, and then we'll discuss the job work. So presumption as to the document in certain cases. So it is completely theory, but it is various time it is being used in the practical as well as theory. For academic purpose, it is also important. Presumption generally means an act of accepting that something is true until it is proved not true. You remember that we have discussed one provision that in case of the offenses by the company, who will be deemed to be guilty? In case of the offenses by the company, who will be considered to be deemed to be the guilty? Offenses of the company. So, person who is conducting the overall or responsible for overall management, overall business of the company, he will be deemed to be the guilty. But director, employee, secretary will be considered only if it is proved. So you understand too. मतलब जो person responsible है for overall business, वो तो हमेशा माना जाएगा, and when he will not be considered to be the guilty, when he will not considered to be the guilty, अगर ये if he कि that he is not guilty, ठीक है, or he has taken the due diligence. So same point regarding the document, that section 144 lays down the presumption that are taken cognizance of by the court when certain documents are submitted as evidence by the prosecution in the proceeding under the GST law against any person. Document produced by any person under the CGST, seized from the custody or control of the person under the CGST, received from any place outside India in the course of any proceeding, tendered by the prosecution in evidence against such person or any other person who is tried jointly with such person. As per the Evidence Act, the content of the document must be proved by evidence or signature or handwriting. Must be proved to or to be the person to whom it is alleged to be. Further, the document which is required by the law to be attested shall not be used as evidence until at least one party as one attesting witness has been called for the purpose of proving its execution, except in certain cases. 144 enable the court of the law to make the departure from the above general principle above and presume the truth of the document, that the signature which purport to be in the handwriting of any particular person in that person's handwriting मान लेता है, मतलब उसे प्रूव करने की रिक्वायरमेंट नहीं है, वो मान लेता है कि जो भी डॉक्यूमेंट दिया वो ट्रू है और जो सिग्नेचर उसने किया वो भी करेक्ट है. एग्जीक्यूशन और अटेस्टेशन हैज बीन मेड बाय द पर्सन, जिसको करना था उसने कर दिया. This implies that in case of the such document, if the said person claims that document is not true or not signed or handwritten by him or not attested by him, तो burden of the proof किसके ऊपर चला जाएगा? The person who is saying so. Further, the Stamp Act provides that a document which is not duly stamped shall be inadmissible in evidence. However, Section 144 allows the court to depart from the general provision by providing that the document shall be admissible in evidence even if it is not duly stamped. आपने कभी जीएसटी लॉ में किसी डॉक्यूमेंट को स्टाम्प करते हुए नहीं देखा होगा, करेक्ट? तो वो नॉर्मल भी अगर है तो इट विल बी डीम्ड. ये क्यों हो रहा है? क्योंकि सेक्शन 144 है. Admissibility of the microfilm, facsimile copies of the document and computer printed as document as evidence. Document has been defined in section 2 clause 41. Microfilm, facsimile film, computer printout or information is stored electronically. They will be considered as deemed document. ठीक है. As per the section 141, 145 subsection 1, the following shall be deemed as document: a microfilm of a document or the reproduction of the image embedded in such microfilm, whether enlarged or not. Microfilm are films containing microphotograph of a document. Such images are generally provided as negative. Facsimile copy. A facsimile is a copy or reproduction of the document that is true or to the original source as possible. An extract of a document is a facsimile. A statement containing a document and included in a printed material produced by a computer. Information stored electronically in any device or media, including hard copy made of such information. It refers to the information stored in digital form, which require the use of the computer hardware and software. Also, such information is normally created and altered in the digital form. These categories would include the information stored in the ERP system that are employed by most business presently. It also include printout of such digital information. Document shall be admissible in any proceeding under the Act without further proof or production of the original as evidence of any content of the original or any fact stated therein. Certification क्या है? As per section 145 subsection 2, certificate identifies the document containing the statement and describing the manner in which it was produced, giving such particular of any device involved in the production of that document as may be appropriate for the purpose of showing that document was produced by a computer. Quickly give in the chat किस किस को हम document कहते हैं, which all are considered to be the document. Please confirm which all are considered to be the document. अभी हमने बात की थी ना, there are 4 category of the which will be called as document. Quickly tell me, एक या दो भी अगर याद है तब भी चलेगा. If you recall microfilm, बुक से मतलब बुक में हमने जो पढ़ा था, मतलब कोशिश कीजिए कि आप अभी मुझे छोटे छोटे क्वेश्चन का आंसर दे पाए ताकि आपको ये बाद में ना पढ़ना पड़े. स्टेटमेंट, प्रिंट आउट, माइक्रोफिल्म और एक वो डॉक्यूमेंट जो इलेक्ट्रॉनिकली स्टोर्ड है. करेक्ट. देन power to call for the information and bar on the disclosure of information. 151 or 152, the commissioner or an officer authorized by him may by an order direct any person to furnish the information, or information may be sought relating to any matter dealt with in connection with this act within such time, such form and such manner as may be specified. ये तो पावर हुआ कमिश्नर या कोई ये बाद में अमेंडमेंट होके ऐड हुआ ऑन और एन ऑफिसर ऑथराइज्ड बाय हिम direct any person to furnish the information. So they have given the power under section 151. Information may be sought relating to any matter in connection with this act within such time, such form, such manner as may be prescribed. No, as may be specified. अगर prescribed होता तो क्या requirement थी? If the word prescribed would be there, then what is the requirement? Additional requirement. They have to specify the rules. Absolutely correct. But now they are saying they have as may be specified. So whether it required any rule, whether it required any format to be prescribed, no. Correct. bar on the disclosure of information. No information with respect to any matter given for the purpose of 150 or 151 without the prior consent in writing of the person or his authorized representative be published in the manner as to enable any particular to be identified as referring to the particular person without giving an opportunity of the being to the person. मतलब क्या हुआ? Let's say I'm a CGST officer and I have taken the document from you. Now the document which I have taken, I will not publicly disclose. I cannot disclose the information which I obtained from you without prior consent. No such information shall be used for any proceeding without giving. So obviously, whenever they are taking any action against you, they will give the opportunity of the being heard. What is the exception? No restriction shall apply to the publication of any information relating to the class of the taxable person or class of the transaction if it is in the opinion of the commissioner it desirable in the public interest. Like you remember that they have run the drive of the fake invoicing, fake transaction in the past. So GST Council has authorized to run the drive of the fake. So if any person who has been arrested or who has been adjudicated finally, and it is come to the conclusion that he was the fake, he was involved in the fake transaction. In that case, if commissioner feel that it is desirable in the public interest, why it is desirable? Because if Mr. A is doing the fake transaction, so if any bona fide buyer is there, so at least he has the information that please do not do the transaction with the Mr. A. Okay. So they can publish such information. Disclosure of information by a public servant. Section 158 lays down the provision for disclosure of information by the public servant, also maintaining the confidentiality of the same and related penal provision in the event of contravention. The following shall be treated as confidential. All particular contained in any statement made, written, furnished, or account or document produced in accordance with the Act. All particular content in any record of evidence given in the course of any proceeding under this Act, other than proceeding before a criminal court. All proceeding contained in any record of proceeding under the Act. What is the exception? Any for prosecution. Any particular in respect of such a statement, returns, account, document, evidence, affidavit, or deposition for the purpose of any prosecution under IPC or Prevention of Corruption Act or the Act or any other law for the time being in force for carrying out the object of the Act, any particular to the central government or state government for the purpose of carrying out the object of the Act. ठीक है, or for serving the notice or recovery of the demand. Obviously, any particulars when such disclosure is occasioned by the lawful exercise for any purpose for service of the notice or recovery of the demand, they can use and they are using also. Sorry. तो कौन कौन से एक्सेप्शनल सिनेरियो हैं एक बार देख लीजिए. कौन कौन से एक्सेप्शनल सिनेरियो वेयर द पब्लिक ऑफ सर्वेंट जो इंफॉर्मेशन ऑब्टेन करता है द सेम कैन बी डिस्क्लोज्ड for prosecution, for carrying out the object of the act, for service of the notice or recovery of the demand. Correct? Power to call for information किसके पास पावर है? सेक्शन 151 में हमने रीड किया था पावर टू कॉल फॉर इंफॉर्मेशन. हु कैन कॉल फॉर इंफॉर्मेशन? कौन से ऑफिसर के पास में पावर है इंफॉर्मेशन कॉल करने का? राइट, राइट, कमिश्नर या ऑथराइज्ड ऑफिसर। कमिश्नर या ऑथराइज्ड ऑफिसर किस फॉर्मेट में कॉल करेंगे, ये रूल्स में प्रिस्क्राइब्ड होगा या उसी में स्पेसिफाई होगा? जो वो नोटिस इश्यू करेंगे, जो वो डॉक्यूमेंट कॉल करेंगे, will it be prescribed in the rules or will it be specified in that particular document in which they are calling for? Correct. ठीक है. Then for furnishing the information to a court in a proceeding where the government is a party, any particular to a civil court in any suit or proceeding to which the government or any authority is a party which is related to any matter arising out of any proceeding under the act or under any other law for the time being in force. For audit of tax receipt or refund, any particular to any officer appointed for the purpose of audit or refund, for inquiry into the conduct any particular where such particulars are relevant for the purpose of inquiry into the conduct of any GST officer to any person appointed as an inquiry officer under the relevant law. ठीक है. For enabling levy, realization of any tax or duty, any such particular to an officer of the central government by a public servant, statutory authority or state government, as may be necessary for the purpose of enabling that government to levy or realize any tax or duty by lawful exercise of the powers, any particular where such disclosure is occasioned by the lawful exercise by a public servant or any other statutory authority or its power under any other law. For inquiry into the charge of misconduct by any professional. We are hearing multiple times that so and so person has been arrested because he was involved in the fake transaction. Any particular relevant to any inquiry into a charge of the misconduct in connection with any proceeding under the act against a practicing advocate, tax practitioner, cost accountant, chartered accountant, company secretary, to the authority empowered to take the disciplinary action against the member. ठीक है. For a data entry on automated system, any particular to any agency appointed for the purpose of data entry on any automated system or for the purpose of operating, upgrading, maintaining any automated system. What we are reading, हम लोग क्या रीड कर रहे हैं? कैन यू टेल मी व्हाट वी आर रीडिंग? कि फॉर डेटा एंट्री ऑन एन ऑटोमेटेड सिस्टम, तो क्या कर सकते हैं? व्हाट दे कैन डू? Correct. So we are reading the information which has been obtained, collected under this act, when this can be disclosed. When this can be disclosed. Absolutely correct. Any particular to any agency appointed for the purpose of data entry or for the purpose of operating, upgrading, or maintaining any automated system where such agency is bound not to use or disclose except for the aforesaid purpose. For any other law, any particulars to an officer of the government as may be necessary for the purpose of any other law and in public interest. So there are multiple points in which the particulars or matters or document can be disclosed by the public servant. Now the restriction on the government court, 158 subsection 2 override the provisions contained in Indian Evidence Act. It states that court shall not require any GST officer to produce before it or give evidence before it in respect to the particular referred to in section 158 subsection 1. However, this restriction will not apply in respect of the disclosure mentioned in subsection 3. Now, consent-based sharing of the information furnished by taxable person, 158 capital A. The following detail furnished by a registered person may be shared by the common portal. What is the common portal? What is the common portal in the GST? What is the common portal in the GST? www.gst.gov.in, or is there any other common portal? It can be. It can be e-way bill. It can be e-invoice. So there are various portals being maintained by the government for the purpose of the GST. Now regarding the GSTN, regarding the GST appellate tribunal. So the following details furnished by a registered person may be shared by the common portal with such other system as may be notified by the government in the prescribed manner and subject to the prescribed condition. You remember that which refund is automated, which category of the refund is automated, which category of the refund does not require the RFD01 refund application. So goods or service on payment of tax, you are saying absolutely correct. Non-LUT, Ayush, absolutely correct. Export against Sanjay, absolutely correct. But is it goods or services or both? Only goods. And how this refund is automated, you know? How this refund is automated? There would be the shipping bill filed in the ICAI. There would be the GST return furnished by the exporter in the relevant table. Now both are matched. How both will match? If they will not interact to each other, it means GST and ICAI are interacting to each other. These are two different portals, correct? So the detail furnished may be shared, particular furnished in the application for registration under section 25 or in the return furnished under section 39. You remember the details which is being submitted by the taxpayer by the exporter in the R13B. Then such details can be shared or under 44, that is annual return. The particulars uploaded on the common portal for preparing the invoice, the details of outward supply furnished in section 37. So GSTR1 is a return. Whether GSTR1 is a return under section 39, whether GSTR1 is a return under section 39. No, sir. Absolutely correct. It is a statement that is under section 37. So this is a statement under section 37 and particular uploaded on the common portal for generation of the document under section 68, that is e-way bill. These details can be shared and such other detail as may be prescribed. For the purpose of sharing the detail, consent shall be obtained of supplier in respect of the detail furnished above and the recipient in respect of the detail furnished under clause B and clause C only where such details include identity information of the recipient in the prescribed form and manner. No action shall rise against the government or the common portal with respect to any liability arising consequent to the information shared under this section. No action shall rise against the government or the common portal with respect to any liability arising consequent of the information shared in the section. There shall be no impact on the liability to pay the tax on the relevant supply as per the relevant return. ये जो सेक्शन है, कौन सा सेक्शन है? विच सेक्शन वी आर रीडिंग? वी आर रीडिंग सेक्शन 158 कैपिटल ए. Override the following provision following section 133, liability of the officer and any other person. 152, bar on the disclosure of the information. 158, disclosure of the information by the public servant. The said provision is implemented by Rule 163, which provide that where the registered person opt to share the information furnished in Res 1 registration in GSTR 3B, GSTR 1, GSTR 1A, debit credit note, but with the system referred to in section 158A subsection 1, herein we call as a requesting system, shall obtain the consent of said registered person for sharing the information and shall communicate the consent along with the details of the tax period where applicable to the common portal. The registered person shall give his consent for sharing the information in R1 only after he has obtained the consent of all the recipient to whom he has issued the invoice, credit note, debit note during the said period for sharing the information with the requesting system where he provide his consent. The consent of such recipient shall be deemed to have been obtained. इसका मतलब अगर supplier consent देता है, see nowadays you know that we can obtain the loan and the loan company, NBFC, whomsoever, is not collecting any document. They are taking based on the GST returns. How they are getting the information? Because of the 158 capital A. They are taking the consent of the supplier, and once the supplier is given the consent, then it will be deemed that he has taken the consent of all the recipient. The common portal shall communicate the information in this rule with the requesting system on receipt from the said system, the consent of the said registered person and details of the tax periods or the recipient as the case may be in respect of which information is required. Central government has notified following as the system with which the information may be shared. One is account aggregator and second is public tax platform for frictionless credit. So now we know that the details, the systems are also being integrated with other system as well. And like MSME loan, which I have given the example, account aggregator means NBFC, which undertake the business of an account aggregator in accordance with the policy direction issued by the RBI. Public tech platforms for frictionless credit means enterprise grade opening architect IT information technology platform conceptualized by the RBI as part of its statement or development and regulatory policies and developed by its wholly owned subsidiary Reserve Bank Innovation Hub for the operation of the large ecosystem of the credit. Credit does not mean input tax credit. Here credit not means input tax credit. Here credit means loan, disbursement of the loan to ensure access to the information by various data sources digitally and where the financial service provider and multiple data service provider converts on the platform using the standard and protocol driven architect open and shared application program framework. This provision can be helpful in many cases as follows, where the recipient of the goods or service want to confirm whether supplier has filed the return and has paid the taxes. This is because if supplier does not pay the tax, recovery can be made from the recipient. In such case, after obtaining the consent from the supplier, the recipient can check whether supplier has filed the return and paid the taxes before releasing his payment. At present, there is no mechanism by which the recipient can come to know whether supplier has paid the taxes and filed the return. So you can check only whether return has been filed in the GSTR 3B of the supplier, whether your invoice has been reported and paid the taxes and then return the file? No, you cannot check. As of now, you cannot check. This provision is also helpful to the buyer for vendor registration, vendor's rating, and verifying the credential. Supplier can judge the creditworthiness of the recipient before extending him credit. Banker can use this provision while making the assessment of the loan application. ठीक है. Publication of information in respect of persons in certain cases. Section 159. Confirm the power on the commissioner for publishing the name and other particular of the person in certain cases. What type of the information can be published? The name of any person and any other particular relating to any proceeding or prosecution under the Act in respect of such information. Who can publish that information? Commissioner or any officer authorized by him in this behalf. क्या टाइप की इंफॉर्मेशन पब्लिश कर सकते हैं? नेम and any other particular relating to any proceeding or prosecution under this act in respect of that person. What is the manner? The information shall be published in such manner as the commissioner or authorized officer think fit. When can the information be published? Such information shall be published if the commissioner or any other officer authorized by him in this behalf is of the opinion that it is necessary or expedient in public interest to do so. Is there any additional information which can be published in case of the firm's company or association AOP? Name of the partner, director, managing agent, secretary, and treasurer or manager of the company or the member, as the case may be, also published if in the opinion the commissioner justify it. What is the limitation on the publication of the information relating to the penalty? No publication under this section shall be made in respect of any penalty imposed under this act until the time of presenting an appeal under section 107 has expired. That is 3 months and extendable to further 1 month. What is the time limit to file the appeal by the government? What is the time limit to file the appeal by the commissionerate? कितना टाइम है कि कमिश्नर अपील फाइल कर सकते हैं? कमिश्नर कैन डायरेक्ट एंड देन फाइल द अपील टू द अपीलेट अथॉरिटी within 6 months and extendable by 1 more month. The appeal, if presented, has been disposed of. Taking assistance from an expert. Now, you heard, might be you heard that some of the professionals are being attached with the government as an expert. Section 153 giving the power. Now, this is also, I can say, a limited but professional opportunity. Section 153 enable officer and not below the rank of the assistant commissioner to take the assistance of any expert at any stage, scrutiny, inquiry, investigation, or any other proceeding before him. It may be noted that such decision shall be taken having regard to the nature and complexity of the case and the interest of the revenue. An IT professional assistance may be sought where the officer is of the view that information stored in the computer system does not reveal correct details. Assessment proceeding not to be invalid on certain ground. Sometimes proceedings are challenged for their validity merely for reason of the mistake. Sometimes proceedings are challenged for their validity merely for reason of mistakes, etc. This provision aims at saving the proceeding from such challenge. Which proceeding are covered? हम किसकी बात करें? Assessment, etc. not to be invalid. Which proceedings are covered under this section? The following proceeding done, accepted, made, issued, initiated, or purport to have been done, accepted, made, issued, initiated in persons of any provision are covered assessment, reassessment, adjudication, review, revision, appeal, rectification, notice, summon, or other proceeding. On which ground will such proceeding be not held as invalid? Merely on mistake or defect or omission. Such proceeding shall not be held invalid for mere reason of mistakes, defect, and omission, if such proceedings are in substance and effect in conformity with or according to the intent, purpose, and requirement of the Act or any earlier law. When will the service of any notice, order, or communication be not called in question? The service of any notice, order, or communication shall not be called in question if the notice, order, or communication has already been acted upon by the person to whom it has been issued. See, this is very, very important. Why I am saying so? Read this particular line. So if your client has received a notice, and assume that this notice should have been issued by the assistant commissioner, but it has been issued by the superintendent. Assume. Now, what is the biggest challenge of replying the notice? This is important point. Why? Because अगर वो नोटिस उस क्लाइंट के कंसल्टेंट को चैलेंज करना था, तो उसी नोटिस के रिप्लाई के टाइम ही चैलेंज करना था कि इट हैज बीन issued without any authorization, or you being a superintendent officer does not have the power to issue the notice. But normally हम क्या करते हैं, हम लोग जैसी नोटिस देखते हैं उसका रिप्लाई करना स्टार्ट कर देते हैं. we are looking to the notice and we are giving the reply. और ये क्या क्यों डेंजर है? Because कि the notice order communication has already been acted upon by the person to whom it has been issued. तो मतलब आपने उसको चैलेंज ही नहीं किया. अगर आपने उस टाइम चैलेंज नहीं किया, यू लूज द पावर टू चैलेंज फर्दर. अगर आपने एक्ट कर लिया उसके ऊपर, आपने एक्सेप्ट कर लिया एंड यू हैव गिवन द रिप्लाई कि दैट लाइक दिस इज नॉट माय पार्टी, दिस इज माय पार्टी, आई एम बोनाफाइड बाय लब लब लब. सो द सर्विस ऑफ any notice, order, or communication shall not be called in question if it has been acted upon by the person. So हमेशा ध्यान रखना, in practical also, in practical life, in articleship period also, whenever you are giving the reply to the notice, make sure that it has been looked from various angle, and if there is any question, it has to be challenged at that point of time only. Where such service has not been called in question at or in the earliest proceeding commenced, continued, or finished pursuant to the notice communication or rectification of error apparent on the face of the records. Now see, 161 is very beneficial section. 161 provide for the rectification of the mistakes or error apparent on the face of the records by any authority. It may be noted that this section overrides the entire act except section 160, which is discussed above. कौन सा था 160? Assessment not to be invalid on certain ground. अभी हम कौन सा सेक्शन रीड करें? Rectification of errors. 161 provide for the rectification of mistake or error apparent on the face of the records by any authority. It may be noted that this section overrides the entire act except section 160. Which document are covered? Any decision, order, notice, certificate, or any other document. Who can rectify the error apparent on the face of the record? An authority who has passed or issued any decision or order or notice or certificate or any other document may rectify any error which is apparent on the face of the record. What mistake can be rectified? Error or mistake which are apparent on the face of the records may be rectified. Rectification can only be the error apparent from the record if it is settled law that a decision on a debatable point of the law is not a mistake apparent on the face of the records. Authority can rectify either अपनी इच्छा से या कोई दूसरे जीएसटी ऑफिसर ने उसे इंटीमेट किया हो, या brought up by the affected person within a period of 3 months from the date of the decision, notice or order. कितने टाइम में वो इन्फॉर्म कर सकता है? टैक्स पेयर जो कि अफेक्टेड पर्सन है, विद इन 3 मंथ फ्रॉम द डेट ऑफ द डिसीजन, ऑर्डर एटसेट्रा. What is the time limit for rectification? No rectification can be made after a period of 6 months from the date of the issue of the decision. मतलब, however, such time limit does not apply where the rectification is in the nature of the correction of clerical or arithmetical error. मतलब क्या हुआ? अगर आपका कोई डिसीजन ऑर्डर है जिसपे क्लरिकल एरर है, एरिथमेटिकल एरर है, मतलब 2+2 आपने 5 कर दिया, ऑफिसर ने 5 कर दिया, तो उसके लिए क्या टाइम लिमिट है? नो टाइम लिमिट. अदरवाइज कितनी टाइम लिमिट है? 6 मंथ. और टैक्स पेयर जो कि अफेक्टेड पर्सन है कितने टाइम अप्लाई कर सकता है? विद इन 3 मंथ. What type of the precautions should be taken at the time of rectification? Principle of natural justice should be followed by the authority carrying out such rectification if the rectification adversely affect any person. ठीक है, very simple. We have discussed multiple time principle of natural justice हमेशा follow करना है. Rounding off. The principle of rounding off laid down in section 170 applies to the tax, interest, penalty and fine. Any other sum payable, refund or any other sum due. वो क्या है राउंडिंग ऑफ का प्रिंसिपल? अमाउंट कंटेन्स part of a rupee consists of paisa and such part as 50 paisa or more, increase to 1 rupees. अगर वो less than 50 paisa, ignore that part. Delegation of power. Power of government to make the rules and regulations. कोई मुझे एक या दो सर्कमस्टांसेस बता सकते हैं जिसमें officer can disclose the information? There is no bar on the disclosure of the information by the officer. Disclosure of the information by the public servant, जिसपे बार नहीं है. हमने काफी काफी पॉइंट पढ़े थे जिसमें we have discussed lot of point. Carrying out the object, yes. Service of the notice, yes. Absolutely correct. Public interest, ठीक है. संजय, any one or two point? हमने एक बात किया था कंसेंट बेस्ड शेयरिंग ऑफ द इंफॉर्मेशन. उसमें कौन से दो ऐसे प्लेटफॉर्म है जिनको नोटिफाई किया है टू टेक द डिटेल्स? हमने कुछ पढ़ा था ना, 150 लोन वाला जो था, एनबीएफसी समथिंग लाइक दैट. सो हाँ, एक तो अकाउंट एग्रीगेटर था, राइट. एंड व्हाट अबाउट द सेकंड? व्हाट अबाउट द सेकंड? टेक प्लेटफॉर्म्स. यस यस यस, टेक प्लेटफॉर्म्स, करेक्ट. असिस्टेंस ले सकते हैं फ्रॉम द एक्सपर्ट बाय द ऑफिसर नॉट बिलो द रैंक ऑफ. असिस्टेंस कैन बी टेकन फ्रॉम एन एक्सपर्ट, बट वो ऑफिसर कौन से ऑफिसर ले सकते हैं? विच ऑफिसर हैज द पावर नॉट बिलो द रैंक ऑफ? Assistant commissioner, not below the rank of assistant commissioner. What is the minimum time limit? What is the time limit to rectify the error? What is the time limit to rectify the error? Okay, let me rephrase my question. कि जो अफेक्टेड पर्सन है वो कितने टाइम में रिक्वेस्ट कर सकते हैं फॉर रेक्टिफाइंग द एरर? कितने टाइम में रिक्वेस्ट कर सकते हैं फॉर रेक्टिफाइंग द एरर? द आंसर इज, अफेक्टेड पर्सन कितने टाइम रिक्वेस्ट कर सकते हैं? 3 मंथ। नॉर्मली कौन सी ऐसी एरर है जिसके लिए कोई टाइम लिमिट एप्लीकेबल नहीं है बाय द ऑफिसर टू रेक्टिफाई इट? दैट इज, यस, गीत हैज गिवन द आंसर। कौन सी ऐसी एरर है जो कि टाइम लिमिट, जिसकी रेक्टिफाई करने की कोई टाइम लिमिट नहीं है, मतलब? करेक्ट। यस संजय, राइट। एंड दैट इज क्लैरिकल और अरिथमेटिकल एरर। और नॉर्मली ऑफिसर कितने टाइम में रेक्टिफाई करेंगे? मैक्सिमम 6 मंथ में वो रेक्टिफाई कर देंगे। कौन सा रेक्टिफिकेशन विच नॉट बी कॉल्ड, विच टाइप ऑफ द, मतलब विच टाइप ऑफ द एरर कैन नॉट बी कॉल्ड एज ए एरर अपियरेंट ऑन द फेस ऑफ द रिकॉर्ड? कौन सा ऐसा एरर है जो कि अपियरेंट ऑन द फेस ऑफ द रिकॉर्ड नहीं कहा जा सकता? कौन सी ऐसी एरर को हम मिस्टेक नहीं कह सकते अपियरेंट ऑन द फेस ऑफ द रिकॉर्ड, अगर वो मींस वो जिसमें हम कहते हैं ना, विच रिक्वायर द इंटरप्रिटेशन ऑफ द लॉ का डिबेटेबल पॉइंट ऑफ द लॉ। अच्छा, रेक्टिफिकेशन जब ऑफिसर करेंगे सुओ मोटो करेंगे, या इट कैन बी बेस्ड ऑन द रिक्वेस्ट फ्रॉम द other GST officer also, or it can be by the affected person also? All three? Yeah, any three. Correct, 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 correct. चलो, अब हम रीड करते हैं डेलीगेशन ऑफ पावर की बात करते हैं, ठीक है? पावर ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट टू मेक द रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशन। Section 154 empower the government to make the rules on the recommendation of the council for carrying out the provision of the act. The government may make the rules for all or any of the matter which by the act are required to be or may be prescribed in respect of which provisions are to be or made by rules. The rules may also be issued with retrospective effect. Sometime the rules are being made with retrospective effect, but not from the date earlier than the date of the provision of the act come into force. कौन सी डेट को ये प्रोविजन कम इनटू फोर्स हुए? Which date this provision are come into force? Very simple question. First July 2017. Yes, we all know, correct. The rules may provide for a penalty not exceeding 10,000 for committing breach of any rules. Section 165 empower the board to make the regulation consistent with the act and the rules made thereunder to carry out the provision of the act. Thus, while the rule-making power lies with the government, the regulating power has been delegated to the CBIC. Central government and the board have been vested with a similar power of making the rules and regulation respectively under section 22 and 23 of IGST Act also. ठीक है, laying of rules, regulation and notification. Screen not refreshing, is it? सॉरी यार, सॉरी, एक मिनट, मैं स्टॉप करके वापस शेयर करता हूँ। सॉरी, आई थिंक नाउ इट इज ओके। एक बार कंफर्म, नाउ इज इट ओके? फाइन 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 फाइन। ठीक है। Section 166 provide that following delegated legislation under this act shall be laid before each house of the parliament while it is in session for a total period of 30 days, which may be comprised in one session or two or more successive sessions. Every rules made by the government, every regulation made by the board, every notification issued by the government. If both the house agree that any modification in the rules, regulation, notification or rules, regulation or notification should not be made, the rules or regulation or notification shall thereafter have effect only in such modified form or be of no effect as the case may be. However, any such modification or annulment shall be without prejudice to the validity of anything previously done under the rules or regulation. Similarly, provision relating to laying of the rules, regulation, and notification have also been prescribed under Section 24 of IGST Act. Delegation of power. Section 167 prescribe that the power conferred or on any authority officer can also be exercised by another authority officer if the commissioner so direct by way of notification, subject to the condition as may be specified in the notification. Many notifications have been issued under this provision to delegate the power to the lower officer or officer of central government and officer of state government, central government. Cross. Power to issue the instructions or directions. 168 empower the CBIC to issue the order, instruction or the direction. एक मैं ना वो गवर्नमेंट की वेबसाइट ओपन करता हूं and I'll show you that one any order notification. Just see any type of the order. मैं आपको क्या बताना चाहता हूं कि when any order is being issued, they are being issued under the power of. So जब भी कोई नोटिफिकेशन इश्यू होता है, एक इंपॉर्टेंट बात और है जो आपको प्रैक्टिकली बहुत ज्यादा काम आएगी. जब भी कोई नोटिफिकेशन इश्यू होता है तो प्लीज चेक ये नोटिफिकेशन किस पावर को एक्सरसाइज करते हुए इश्यू किया गवर्नमेंट ने. See, now it has been issued in section 168 on the recommendation of the council. The commissioner hereby extend the date. ठीक है, तो एक सेकेंड, what we are reading? Section 168 empower the CBIC to issue the order, instruction or the direction for the purpose of uniformity in the implementation of the act. All officer and all other person employed in the implementation of the act and observe such order, instruction and the direction. The binding nature of such order, instruction and direction have been a matter of debate and scrutiny. The general understanding क्या है? The circular is binding on the officer but not on the taxpayer. However, in case circular state something contrary to the law, तो वो ऑफिसर के लिए भी बाइंडिंग नहीं होता. ठीक है, मीन द मीनिंग ऑफ द कमिश्नर फॉर द पर्पज ऑफ फॉलोइंग प्रोविजन इज commissioner or joint secretary posted in the board or and such commissioner or joint secretary shall access the power specified in these set sections with the approval of the board. 2 subsection 91 meaning of the proper officer. Section 5 subsection 3 delegation of power by the commissioner. 25 9b notification or class of the person for granting the UIN number. 35 subsection 3 notification or class of the taxable person required to maintain additional account or document. 35 subsection 4 notification of the class of the taxable person permitted to maintain account in the prescribed manner where the commissioner considered that such persons are not in position to keep and maintain account in accordance with the general provision. 37. Details of outward supply. 39. Returns. Section 44. Annual return. 52. Subsection 4 and subsection 5. TCS by e-commerce operator, extension of the time limit. 143 except second proviso, job worker procedure, जो कि अब हम रीड करेंगे, मतलब we have to read job worker also. 158 exception to the bar on the disclosure of the information by public servant, delegation of the power. Correct. ये 168 कैपिटल ए ये कोविड के कारण इंसर्ट हुआ. The government is empowered to extend the time limit provided under CGST Act in respect of the action which cannot be completed or complied due to the force majeure. Hence, force majeure means war, epidemic, flood, drought, fire, cyclone, or any other calamity caused by the nature. So, natural calamity affecting the implementation, this power can be exercised retrospectively also. आपने देखा होगा मल्टीपल रिलैक्सेशन प्रोविजन हैज बीन गिवन बाय यूजिंग द पावर ऑफ 168 कैपिटल ए. ओमिशन, रिपील एंड सेविंग. 10 मिनट का ब्रेक लेते हैं एंड देन वी विल स्टार्ट अगेन विद द सेक्शन 173. सुख जी 10 मिनट का ब्रेक स्टार्ट कर दीजिए सर. omission and repeal of earlier law, Section 173 and 174. Amendment of Act 32 of 1994, Chapter 5 of the Finance Act 1994, laid down the provision for service tax. Since service tax has been subsumed in GST, such provisions are no more required under and hence have been omitted and are not in force. Repeal and saving. So service tax has been subsumed, right? Repeal and saving. The following legislation stand repealed from July 117, that is the date of commencement of CGST Act. The Central Excise Act 1944, except in respect of the goods included in entry 84 of the Union List, petroleum crude, HSD, motor spirit, commonly known as not natural gases, ATF, tobacco and tobacco product. Can you tell me in this list which product are leaving to the GST as well as excise duty? कौन सा ऐसा प्रोडक्ट है जिस पर दोनों एप्लीकेबल है? टॉबैको एंड टॉबैको प्रोडक्ट इनके ऊपर. बट यहां पर तो मुझे एक चीज समझ में नहीं आया. जस्ट टेल मी, सेंट्रल एक्साइज एक्ट एक्सेप्ट टॉबैको लिखा है, तो क्या टॉबैको पे सेंट्रल एक्साइज एप्लीकेबल नहीं होता? देन हाउ वी कैन से द बोथ एक्साइज एंड कस्टम इज लेविएबल? मतलब क्या हुआ कि सेंट्रल एक्साइज एक्ट रिपील हो गया इस तारीख से, बट it is not repealed. It means on these products still excise duties are leviable. Correct? Medical and toilet preparations, Excise Duty Act, additional duties of the excise, goods of special importance, Central Excise Act. The repeal under Section 774 or amendment under Section 173 shall not revive anything not in force or exist at the time of such amendment or repeal, no new effect, or affect the previous operation of the amendment act or repealed act and order or anything duly done or suffered thereunder, no effect on the previous positions, affect any right, privilege, obligation, or the liability acquired, accrued, or incurred under the provision under the previous law. No effect on the right or the liability under previous law. Any tax exemption granted as incentive against investment through the notification shall not continue as privilege if the said notification is resigned or after the on or after the appointed date. तो अगर कोई पुराने जीएसटी पुराने लॉ में कोई वैट में कोई नोटिफिकेशन था जो आपको कोई टैक्स का बेनिफिट देता था, विल नॉट बी कंटिन्यू आफ्टर द अपॉइंटेड डे. अफेक्ट एक सेकेंड. Affect any duty, surcharge, fine, penalty, interest as are due or may become due, or any forfeiture or punishment incurred or conflicted in respect of any offense committed under the provision of the previous law. No effect on the tax due under previous law. No effect on the legal proceeding and tax and penalty under the previous law. Not affect any investigation, inquiry, verification, adjudication, assessment, proceeding, recovery proceeding, or other legal proceeding or tax penalty, etc., and any such proceeding that may be instituted, continued, or enforced, and tax penalty, etc., that may be levied or imposed as if these act has not been so amended or repealed. मतलब आपकी कोई भी डिमांड है, कोई भी ड्यूटीज है, वैट, सर्विस टैक्स, अभी भी अगर आपने सुना होगा कि डिमांड रेज होती है फॉर द सर्विस टैक्स, फॉर द वैट एज ऑफ नाउ, मतलब वो एक जो टाइम लिमिट है, रेस्पेक्टिव लॉ में, वो टाइम लिमिट के अंदर अगर वो डिमांड रेज होती है तो देन दैट विल स्टैंड वैलिड. It will not affect any proceeding, including that relating to the appeal, review, or reference instituted before or after the appointed day under the previous law. No effect on any appellate proceeding under previous law. ठीक है. Section 6 of the provision of Section 6 with regard to the effect of the repeal will apply for repeal provided under the Section 174. क्या कहता है Section 6? Where this act or any central act or regulation made where this act or any regulations or any central act or the regulation made after the commencement of this act repeals any enactment hereto made or hereafter to be made unless a different intention appear, the repeal shall not revive anything not in force or existing at the time at which the repeal take effect, affect the previous operation of any enactment so repealed or anything duly done or suffered thereunder, affect any right, privilege, obligation, or the liability acquired, accrued, or incurred, affect any penalty, forfeiture, or punishment incurred in respect of any offense committed against any enactment so repealed, or affect any investigation, legal proceeding, or remedy in respect of such right, privilege, obligation, liability, penalty, forfeiture, or punishment as aforesaid, and any such investigation, legal proceeding, or remedy may be instituted, continue, or enforced, and any such penalty, forfeiture, or punishment may be imposed as if the repealing act has not been passed. Other provision. Common Portal, Section 146, enable the government to notify the GST Common Portal on recommendation of the Council for facilitating the following: registration, payment of tax, furnishing of the return, computation and settlement of integrated tax, e-way bill, and other function and prescribed purpose. CBIC has notified the GST portal www.gst.gov.in as the common portal. However, the common GST electronic portal for e-way bill is e-waybillgst.gst.gov.in. Further, IRP is the website for uploading or reporting of e-invoice by the notified person for whom the e-invoice is mandatory. Special procedure for certain process. Section 148 is an enabling provision for prescribing special procedure for certain process. The following are noteworthy in this regard. Such procedures shall be prescribed by way of notification issued by the government on recommendation of the council. The condition and safeguard and the class of the registered person to whom such procedure will be applicable shall be stated in the notification itself. The special procedure may be prescribed with regard to the following matter: registration, filing of the return, payment of tax and administration. मैं वापस read करता हूं. Special procedure for certain process. 148 is enabling provision for prescribing the special procedure for certain process. Such procedure shall be prescribed by way of notification issued by the government on the recommendation of the council. ठीक है. The condition and safeguard and the class of the registered person to whom such procedure will be applicable, it will be stated in the notification itself. The special procedure may be prescribed with regard to the following matter: registration, filing of the return, payment of tax या administration. कुछ एक एग्जाम्पल दिया नोटिफिकेशन का. जैसे नोटिफिकेशन 66 है, वो क्या करता है? Seek to exempt all the taxpayer from the payment of tax on advance received in case of supply of the goods. गुड्स की अगर सप्लाई है, उसके रिगार्ड में अगर पेमेंट मिलता है, इन दैट केस it will exempt. Similarly, notification 4 by 2018 seek to provide special procedure with respect to payment of tax by the registered person supplying services by way of construction against transfer of the development right and vice versa. So there are a lot of notification being issued by using the power of section 148. हाँ, गीत absolutely correct है. Except specified actionable claim. हाँ, agreed, fully agreed. So that was, I can say कि भाई अब गुड्स में कौन सा एडवांस टैक्सेबल है, स्पेसिफाइड एक्शनेबल क्लेम टैक्सेबल है. करेक्ट. जीएसटी कंप्लायंस रेटिंग, एनीवन हु अवेयर अबाउट दिस जीएसटी कंप्लायंस रेटिंग? क्या स्टार्ट हो चुका? whether it has been started, the GST compliance rating? Any idea? Answer is no. Every registered person shall be assigned a compliance rating based on the record of the compliance in respect of specified parameter. Such rating shall not be permanent and will be revised from time to time. The rating shall be intimated to the taxable person and will also be placed in the public domain. A prospective client will be able to see the compliance rating of the supplier and take a decision as to whether to deal with the particular supplier or not. This will create a healthy competition among the taxable person. Power to take the sample, section 154, giving the power to the commissioner or any officer authorized by him to take the sample of the goods from the possession of any taxable person where he consider it necessary. Such officer shall provide a receipt of the sample so taken. Again, ये काफी फेवरेट है in notices. Almost in every notices, this section is being always used. What it says, that burden of the proof normally refer the obligation to prove one assertion. Section 155 laid down that where any person claim that he is eligible for ITC, the burden for proving the claim is lies on that person. मतलब अगर कोई टैक्स पेयर आईटीसी क्लेम कर रहा है तो वो क्यों क्लेम कर रहा है, ये बर्डन है उस टैक्स पेयर का जो आईटीसी क्लेम कर रहा है. Now if you have seen that notices in the initial days, it was only 2A 3B mismatch. The notices were only 2A 3B mismatch, retrospective cancellation of any taxpayer, etc. तो उस केस में वो क्या होता था कि why the ITC should not be denied, they are specifying in the notice that it is a burden to prove by the taxpayer. Person deemed to be public servant. Section 156 deems all person discharging function under the act as public servant within the meaning of section 21 of IPC. This means that such person shall qualify as public servant for the purpose of IPC wherever applicable. Protection of the action against taken under this act. 157, grant immunity to the following person against the legal proceeding for anything done or intended to be done in good faith. President, state president of the appellate tribunal, state president of the appellate tribunal, member of the appellate tribunal, officer या other officer, any other person authorized or any officer appointed under this act. It provides immunity from personal liability for decision, act, or omission that are made with the scope of their official duty and not made in want, honor, or reckless manner. Bar on the jurisdiction of the civil court. Taxes are civil liability. The basic rule that every dispute which is the civil nature can be tried by the civil court. However, tax law generally provide a specific machinery for assessment, appeal, and recovery in terms of the special legislation. The jurisdiction of civil court is barred in the matters relating to the tax law. Therefore, as per section 162, no civil court have the jurisdiction to deal with or decide any question arising from anything relating or purported to be done under this act. However, this bar does not apply in case of the appeal to the High Court and Supreme Court as provided in section 117 and 118. ठीक है. Levy of the fees. Provide that a copy of any order document can be provided to any person on an application made by him for the purpose after paying the prescribed fee. Service of the notice in certain circumstances. Very, very important. Why I am saying so? In exam, it may ask the question, or in practical life also. It is very important. Why I am saying so? If you prove in any proceeding that the document has not been served upon, this entire proceeding held to be invalid, held to be void. Giving you one example. If you are having some idea about the GST portal, so there are two, I can say there is a, under the services, user services, for notices, there are two tabs. View notices and order. Second is view additional notice and order. What does it means? मतलब ये हुआ कि आपको जो नोटिस इश्यू हुआ है, it can come under the one tab that view notice and order. It can come in the additional notice and order tab also. इसका मतलब ये हुआ कि sometime the officer upload under the additional notice. Now this point is being taken in various judgment by the court, High Court, कि instead of uploading the notice in the view notice and order, the officer is uploaded in additional notice and order. Based on this simple fact, the section 169 goes in favor to the taxpayer, stating that it has not been properly served. It has not been properly served. Considering the multiple judgment, therefore they have changed the GST portal, have changed the view additional notice and order in that. See, if you click in the view notice or view additional notice, both lies on the same page. View notice and view additional notice. दोनों एक ही पेज पर आते हैं. And that is the one example that it was not properly served. Any notice, decision or order or summon or any other communication under the act are to be served on the SEC in accordance with the provision of the section 169. 169 provide that a notice, decision, order, summon or any other communication एक्चुअली क्या है, व्हाट इज द पर्पस ऑफ एडिशनल नोटिस एंड ऑर्डर. ओके, मतलब पर्पस कुछ नहीं है, कोई इनकी फंक्शनलिटी है कि जो नॉर्मली होता है ना, जो जीएसटीआर 3A, व्हाट इज द जीएसटीआर 3A? जीएसटीआर 3 इज द नोटिस फॉर not filing the return. Section 46, if I'll go and refer the section 46, which talks about not filing the return within time. तो वो जो सिस्टम जनरेटेड नोटिस आते हैं वो नॉर्मली व्यू नोटिस में आते हैं. जब कोई ऑफिसर अपलोड करता है व्यू एडिशनल नोटिस में आता है. बट देर इज नो सच मेन, आई कैन से दैट एनी डिफरेंशिएशन फैक्टर. बट वो कोई जीएसटी पोर्टल की फंक्शनलिटी जब वो उन्होंने डिजाइन किया होगा यूजर इंटरफेस, तो उस टाइप से डिजाइन किया हुआ, दैट्स इट. ठीक है. 169 subsection 1 provide that a notice, decision, order, summon or any other communication can be served by any one of the following method. क्या मेथड है? Giving a tendering directly, by giving or tendering it directly by a messenger, including a courier, to the addressee or the taxable person, to his messenger, to his manager, authorized representative, or an advocate, tax practitioner holding authority to appear on behalf of the taxable person or to person regularly employed by him or any adult member of the family. पहला कौन सा हो गया? गिविंग और टेंडरिंग डायरेक्टली. दूसरा है रजिस्टर्ड पोस्ट, स्पीड पोस्ट या कोरियर. बाय रजिस्टर्ड पोस्ट, स्पीड पोस्ट और by courier with acknowledgement due to the person for whom it is intended or his authorized representative, if any, at is the last knowing place. Email, by sending the communication to his email address at common portal, by making it available on the common portal. Publication in the newspaper, by publication in the newspaper, circulating in the locality in which the taxable person or the person to whom it is issued is last known to have resided, carried or business or personally worked for gain. Affixing at place of the business if none of the mode aforesaid is practicable, by affixing in some conspicuous place at his last known place of the business or residence, and if such mode is not practicable for any reason, then by affixing a copy thereof on the notice board of the office's concerned officer or authority whom on which passed such decision, order or issued such summon or notice. Deemed the date of serving. Every decision or order or summon, notice, communication shall be deemed to have been served on the date on which it is tendered or published, or a copy thereof is affixed in the manner provided in subsection 1. Deeming date of servicing. ठीक है. Deemed date of receipt, when the decision, order, summon, notice on any communication sent by the registered post to speed post, it shall be deemed to have been received by the addressee at the expiry of the period normally taken by the post in transit, unless contrary is proved. तो normally 3 दिन में deliver होता है, तो 3 days would be added. ठीक है. Anti-profiteering provision. We have discussed anti-profiteering. Can you give me the hint of anti-profiteering? What is the anti-profiteering? What is the concept of anti-profiteering? We have discussed in some chapters. Every decision, order, summon, notice, communication shall be deemed to have been served on the date on which it is tendered or published, thereof is affixed in the manner provided. Correct? हाँ, incidence of the tax is not passed. क्या मतलब हुआ कि जब भी ट्रांजिशन होता है, एंटी प्रॉफिटरिंग का कॉन्सेप्ट बड़ा सिंपल था. एंटी प्रॉफिटरिंग का कॉन्सेप्ट क्या था? जब भी ट्रांजिशन होता है, ट्रांजिशन दो चीज के कारण होता है. या प्री जीएसटी टू जीएसटी आया तो वो एक ट्रांजिशन था. दूसरा ट्रांजिशन क्या होता है? कोई भी टैक्स रेट डिक्रीज होती है या आईटीसी इंक्रीज होता है. सी देयर आर टू बेनिफिट. आपको जीएसटी में दो बेनिफिट कैसे होगा? मतलब या तो आपकी टैक्स रेट कम होगी तो आपको बेनिफिट हो सकता है, या आपका आईटीसी इंक्रीज हो जाए तो बेनिफिट होगा ना. कंज्यूमर का बेनिफिट दो ही तरीके से हो सकता है कि अगर मान लो मैं सप्लायर हूं और मैं आपको जो आइटम सेल करता तो उसके ऊपर 18% था, नाउ इट इज टैक्सेबल एट 5%, तो उसके कारण आपको बेनिफिट होना चाहिए. और दूसरा बेनिफिट, सपोज गवर्नमेंट मुझे पहले आईटीसी नहीं देती थी, अब कहती है तुम जो परचेज करते हो उसका तुम आईटीसी ले लो. अगर मेरे को आईटीसी देंगे तो माय कॉस्ट विल बी रिड्यूस्ड. सो दो तरीके का जो बेनिफिट है टू द सप्लायर, इट विल बी पास्ड ऑन टू द कस्टमर. ये कॉन्सेप्ट है एंटी प्रॉफिटरिंग का. ठीक है. इट इज एक्स. तो अब क्या होता है, अगर कोई अल्टीमेट कंज्यूमर ये प्रूव कर देता है कि नहीं मुझे बेनिफिट पास ऑन नहीं हुआ, तो वो कंप्लेंट फाइल कर सकता था एंटी प्रॉफिटरिंग में. द बर्डन ऑफ इनडायरेक्ट टैक्स अल्टीमेटली फॉल ऑन द कंज्यूमर. ये तो हम जानते हैं ना कि इनडायरेक्ट टैक्स अल्टीमेटली कंज्यूमर पर फॉल करता है. इट इज एक्सपेक्टेड दैट द जीएसटी regime will result in an increased flow of ITC. In such a scenario, the concern that benefit of such increased ITC may not be passed on by certain entities to the consumer. Section 171 make it mandatory that any reduction in rate of the taxes on supply of the goods or services or the benefit of ITC shall be passed on to the recipient by way of commensurate reduction in the price. मतलब जो मैं जिस प्राइस पर सेल कर रहा हूं ना, जो मैं अल्टीमेट कलेक्ट कर रहा हूं, वो रिड्यूस होना चाहिए. Anti-profiteering authority, the central government on recommendation of the council by notification, constitute an authority or empower an existing authority constituted under any law for the time being in force to examine whether ITC availed by any registered person or reduction in the tax rate have actually result in the commensurate reduction in the price supplied by him. Authority include the appellate tribunal. Consequently, the principal bench of appellate tribunal constituted under section 109 subsection 3 has been empowered to examine whether ITC availed by registered person or the reduction in the tax rate have actually resulted in commensurate reduction in the price of goods or services supplied by that registered person. Further, the sunset clause has been introduced in section 171 to empower the government to notify the date from which the said authority shall not accept any request for examining as to whether ITC availed by the registered person or the reduction in the tax rate have actually result into the commensurate reduction in the price. The term request for examine mean. So पहले मैं sunset clause की बात करता हूं. In this regard, notification ये issue हुआ has notified the sunset date as 1st April 25. The terms request for examination means the written application filed by the applicant requesting for examination as to whether ITC availed by registered person or the reduction in the tax rate have actually resulted in the reduction in the price. ठीक है. Function of the authority क्या था? The authority shall discharge the following function: determine whether the reduction in the tax rate or benefit of the ITC has been passed on by the seller to the buyer, to identify the taxpayer who has not passed the benefit in order to reduction in the price, yeah, return to a recipient an amount equivalent to the amount not passed by way of commensurate reduction in the price, along with interest at the rate of 18%. From the date of collection of the higher amount till the date of the return. ठीक है, imposition of penalty or cancellation of registration, or to furnish such reports to GST Council by 10th day of the month succeeding each quarter. तो quarterly report submit करनी होती थी authority को to the GST Council. Process followed by authority. Application to the authority. All application from interested party on issues of the local nature or those forwarded by standing committee shall first be examined by state level screening committee. On being satisfied that supplier has not passed the benefit, the screening committee within 2 months from the date of the written application, further 1 month extendable, will forward its recommendation to the standing committee on anti-profiteering. If the standing committee is satisfied that there is a prima facie evidence to show that the supplier has not passed the benefit, it shall refer the matter to the DGAP, Director General of Anti-Profiteering, for detailed investigation within 2 months and again extendable by 1 more month. Investigation. The DGAP shall conduct the investigation and collect the evidence necessary to determine undue profiteering, and before initiation of the investigation issue the notice. The evidence presented to the DGAP by one interested party can be made available to the other interested party participating in the proceeding. Evidence provided will be kept confidential, and provision of the section 11 of the Right to Information Act shall apply to the disclosure of any information which is provided on confidential basis. Then order of authority, where the authority determine that registered person has not passed the benefit, the authority may pass the order of reduction in the price, return to the applicant along with the interest of 18%, deposit equivalent to 50% of the determined amount under the above clause along with the interest. Higher amount till the date of depositing such amount to the in the consumer welfare fund and the remaining 50% in the consumer welfare fund of the concerned state. मतलब वो क्या करेगा जब अल्टीमेटली क्या होता है कई बार रेसिपिएंट आइडेंटिफाई नहीं हो पाता. इन दैट केस व्हाट विल वी डू, he will deposit full amount with interest 50 to the consumer welfare fund of the CGST, and again he will also deposit the balance 50% to the consumer welfare fund of the state, where the अल्टीमेट रेसिपिएंट जिसको रिफंड करना है वो आइडेंटिफिएबल नहीं होता. इम्पोजिशन ऑफ द पेनल्टी एंड कैंसिलेशन ऑफ द रजिस्ट्रेशन. ठीक है, दैट इज ओके. पेनल्टी फॉर प्रॉफिटरिंग. A registered person who is found to have been profited is liable to pay the penalty of 10% if the profited amount is not deposited within 30 days. Here, profited amount means the amount determined on account of not passing the benefit by way of reduction in the price. For the purpose of this section, the expression authority includes the appellate tribunal. Application of the provision of Central Goods and Service Tax CGST Act, Section 20 of IGST Act. अब सेक्शन 20 ने क्या कहा कि भाई ये जितने भी प्रोविजन है सीजीएसटी के, इट विल एप्लीकेबल टू आईजीएसटी आल्सो. लाइक स्कोप ऑफ सप्लाई, सेक्शन 7, कंपोजिट सप्लाई एंड मिक्स सप्लाई, सेक्शन 8, ठीक है, टाइम एंड वैल्यू ऑफ द सप्लाई. कंपोजिट सप्लाई एंड मिक्स सप्लाई में अंतर क्या होता है? What is the difference between? This is repeated at the start of this chapter. Each chapter. ये वाला ना, this point section 20 ना, एक वो, हाँ तो करेक्ट, वो आइडिया रहता. नहीं तो ऐसा लगता है ना कि यार सीजीएसटी में तो दिया हुआ है आईजीएसटी में नहीं, तो देयरफॉर दे हैव रिटन. करेक्ट, एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट. एक चलो थोड़ा सा ना, मतलब बेसिकली इट इज ए रिवीजन ऑफ सम अदर चैप्टर्स, बट चलो हम बात कर लेते जस्ट 5-10 मिनट. कंपोजिट मिक्स सप्लाई में अंतर क्या होता है? व्हाट इज द डिफरेंस बिटवीन कंपोजिट सप्लाई एंड मिक्स सप्लाई? चलो एक तो बात आप लोगों ने तीनों ने कही कि नेचुरली बंडल्ड है. ठीक है, ठीक है. कंपोजिट सप्लाई, मिक्स सप्लाई इज नॉट नेचुरली बंडल्ड. दूसरा एक है, कौन सा टैक्स रेट एप्लीकेबल होगा इन केस ऑफ कंपोजिट सप्लाई एंड कौन सा टैक्स रेट एप्लीकेबल होगा इन केस ऑफ मिक्स सप्लाई? In the mixed, it will be highest, okay, and in the composite, it will be in the mix, it will be highest, and in the composite, it will be the principal supply, applicable to the principal supply. Correct, correct. So ये सारे जो प्रोविजन है, ITC, रजिस्ट्रेशन टैक्स, इनवॉइस, क्रेडिट, डेबिट नोट, एटसेट्रा, ये सारे प्रोविजन आर एप्लीकेबल टू द IGST also. ठीक है. Where the tax involved in the IGST, the rate of the TDS shall be 2%. The rate of the TCS shall not exceed 2%. Presently, the rate of the TCS. ठीक है. Where the penalty is leviable under CGST and SGST, the penalty leviable under SLB, sum total of the said penalty. तो हमने ये बात की थी पेनल्टी के चैप्टर में, जैसे जनरल पेनल्टी है वो जनरल पेनल्टी क्या है, 25,000 अंडर दिस एक्ट। तो इसका मतलब क्या होगा, अगर वो जनरल पेनल्टी आईजीएसटी में लगाएगा देन इट विल बी 50,000, 25 सीजीएसटी प्लस 25 एसजीएसटी। करेक्ट ना? अपोर्शनमेंट ऑफ द टैक्स एंड सेटलमेंट ऑफ द फंड बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट है, ये बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट है। अब एक बात बताइए, जस्ट एक अंडरस्टैंडिंग, पहले मैं अंडरस्टैंडिंग समझता हूं आपसे एंड देन आई विल मतलब मेक इट करेक्ट। See, I am registered person located in Delhi and you are registered person located in Rajasthan. अगर मैं आपको सप्लाई करूंगा तो कौन सा टैक्स चार्ज करूंगा? Which tax I will charge? If I'm located in Delhi and you are located in Rajasthan, which tax I will charge? I will charge IGST. Absolutely correct. And I will charge IGST. And what will be the place of supply in this case? What would be the place of supply in this case? Very simple question. Place of supply would be Rajasthan. So if I am charging IGST and I am showing the place of supply is Rajasthan, can you tell me when this IGST be allocated, will it goes to 50% Rajasthan and 50% central government? It will goes to which state? It will goes to which state? Rajasthan or Delhi? It will goes to which state? Rajasthan or Delhi? 50%. See, पहले apportionment का concept clear है ना? What is the concept? CGST and SGST जब चार्ज होता है कोई भी, अगर इंट्रास्टेट सप्लाई करता हूं, if I'm making the supply intrastate, then CGST and SGST would be charged. S would be kept by that state and C would be kept by central government. Am I right? C would be kept by the central government. Am I right? Similarly, अगर IGST चार्ज होता है, तो कौन सी स्टेट को मिलेगा? रिसिपिएंट स्टेट को या सप्लायर स्टेट को? रिसिपिएंट स्टेट को या सप्लायर स्टेट को? कंजम्पशन स्टेट को, दैट इज राजस्थान। अब यहां पर एक बात चेंज कीजिए, अब मैं प्रैक्टिकली आपको बता रहा हूं, ये थ्योरेटिकली हो गया, अब मैं आपको प्रैक्टिकली बता रहा हूं। हैव यू फाइल्ड जीएसटीआर 3B? हैव यू फाइल्ड एनी जीएसटीआर 3B in your practical experience? Just say yes or no. No. Sanjay saying yes, Geeti saying yes, Ayush is saying no. No problem. अगर देखा भी तो भी काम चलेगा, फाइन। ऑलवेज रिमेंबर दैट B2B का ट्रांजेक्शन विल नॉट बी सेटल्ड ऑन प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई। B2B का ट्रांजेक्शन इज नॉट बीइंग सेटल्ड एट ऑल। मेरे एग्जांपल में I have made the supply from Delhi to Rajasthan. It was B2B supply. Right? I'm assuming that my recipient is also registered in Rajasthan. In that case, the B2B will not be settled. B2B का settlement transaction के place of supply पर कभी नहीं होता। तो कैसे होता है? एक बार आता हूं मैं, एक सेकेंड इसका आंसर देता हूं। बट अब मैं एग्जांपल लेता हूं कि आई हैव मेड वन सेल फ्रॉम दिल्ली टू हरियाणा, बट हरियाणा द रिसिपिएंट इज अनरजिस्टर्ड। It is B2C supply, and I will charge IGST. Assuming place of supply is Haryana. In that case, it will be settled. B2C का supply है, अगर interstate है, it will be settled. ठीक है। तो B2B का सेटलमेंट कैसे होता है? B2B का सेटलमेंट होता है GSTR 3B की पेमेंट टेबल से। मींस व्हेन आई एम मेकिंग द सेल टू राजस्थान, then on this sale the 50% would not goes to Rajasthan. Then on which basis it will goes? When Rajasthan taxpayer use his ITC of IGST toward the payment of CGST and SGST. अगर वो अपनी IGST से SGST का पेमेंट करेंगे, in that case 50% will goes to the, in that case 50%, in that case 50% will goes to the Rajasthan government. Is this clear? Basic overview is clear or not? B2C transaction wise settle होगा, B2B transaction wise settle नहीं होगा. It will be settled based on his GSTR 3B का payment table. क्या मतलब हुआ? When he use the ITC of IGST toward the payment of SGST, जैसे वो क्रॉस यूटिलाइज करेगा, this will be settled. Is it clear? Since ठीक है, apportionment of the tax and settlement of the fund. Section 17 of the IGST prescribed the provision. पढ़ते provision. Apportionment of IGST paid on supplies where ITC cannot be availed. 17 subsection 1 lays down, IGST Act की बात कर रहा हूं. On the following supplies the goods or service shall be apportioned. अगर B2C सप्लाई है अनरजिस्टर्ड पर्सन को, इन दैट सी B2C अगर अनरजिस्टर्ड है, क्या अनरजिस्टर्ड आईटीसी क्लेम कर सकता है? कैन द आईटीसी बी क्लेम्ड बाय अनरजिस्टर्ड पर्सन? नो, इट विल बी सेटल्ड. क्या अगर B2B है बट रिसिपिएंट कंपोजिशन है, क्या कंपोजिशन आईटीसी क्लेम कर सकता है? नो, अगेन इट विल बी सेटल्ड. देन थर्ड, अगर मैंने मोटर कार सेल की है, इफ आई एम सेलिंग द मोटर कार, if I'm selling the motor car, can the recipient, even if he is registered under regular category, can the recipient avail the ITC? Assume that he is not making further supply, he is not covered in the exceptions. मैं जो मोटर कार की सप्लाई कर रहा हूं, कैन ही अवेल दैट आईटीसी 17.5 का ब्लॉक क्रेडिट? नो. सो अच्छा, इंट्रास्टेट सप्लाई विल आल्सो बी सेटल्ड या ओनली इंट्रास्टेट सप्लाई विल बी सेटल्ड? क्या इंट्रास्टेट सप्लाई भी सेटल्ड होगा या सिर्फ इंटर सेटल्ड होगा? Only inter would be settled या intra also would be settled? इंट्रा सेटलमेंट नहीं होगा. क्यों नहीं होगा सेटलमेंट? व्हेन इंट्रा, अच्छा इंट्रा पे कौन सा टैक्स चार्ज होगा? इंट्रा स्टेट पे कौन सा टैक्स चार्ज होगा? सीएस. तो सीजीएसटी और एसजीएसटी दोनों का अलग अलग अकाउंट है. Suppose I am making the intrastate supply, I am paying the CGST and SGST, it will go 50% to the central government and 50% to the state government. Clear? It is not being settled. जो हम सेक्शन 17 पढ़ रहे हैं, हमेशा अपॉर्शनमेंट जो भी होगा या सेटलमेंट जो भी होगा, that will only be of IGST. आप एक पॉइंट और बता देता हूं, इट इज नॉट ऑफ आईजीएसटी. एक पॉइंट और बता देता हूं, बट वो आपका जीएसटी से उसका कोई लिंक नहीं है, उसका जीएसटी से कोई लिंक नहीं है. सेंट्रल जो गवर्नमेंट है ना, जो सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट है, कंसोलिडेटेड फंड ऑफ इंडिया, जब आप इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन का भी रीड करेंगे ना, तो आपको आइडिया लगेगा सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट अपने हर फंड का, सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट का जो कंसोलिडेटेड फंड है, उसमें से भी कुछ पार्ट स्टेट को रेमिट करती है, वो अप्रोक्स 42% आता है. सो गीत, दैट इज डिफरेंट पॉइंट. ठीक है, दैट इज बीइंग सेटल्ड अकॉर्डिंग टू द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, नॉट अकॉर्डिंग टू द जीएसटी लॉ. ठीक है, उसकी हम बात नहीं कर रहे, दैट इज बीइंग सेपरेट प्रोविजन. तो एक तो इंटरस्टेट सप्लाई B2C, interstate supply to the composition dealer, interstate supply where the recipient is not eligible for ITC, or interstate supply made in a financial year where he does not avail the ITC within the specified time period. What is the specified time period? What is the specified time period? Thirtieth November of filing of annual return, whichever is again. ठीक है. Import by unregistered person or by registered person paying the tax under composition. अगर मैं import करूंगा, then I will also pay IGST. If I am importing, then I will also pay IGST and I will pay IGST, right? So Sanjay, you were talking about B2C. यू वर टॉकिंग अबाउट B2C, मैं रिपीट कर रहा हूं, आप आई थिंक यू आर देयर, राइट? आर यू देयर? एक बार यस कर दो। ओके फाइन, बीच में मुझे नहीं दिखाई दे रहे थे आप, तो उस कुछ सेकंड के लिए, हाँ नो प्रॉब्लम। देख, हमेशा इंटर स्टेट सेटल होगा। कौन कौन सा इंटर स्टेट सेटल होगा? ट्राई इंटर स्टेट, इंटर स्टेट मेड टू अनरजिस्टर्ड पर्सन, जहां पर रिसिपिएंट आईटीसी नहीं ले सकता, दैट विल बी द लास्ट चेन, दैट विल बी द लास्ट चेन, और वहां पे आईजीएसटी सेटलमेंट ट्रिगर कर जाएगा। पहला B2C सेल, B2B कंपोजिशन, B2B जहां पे रिसिपिएंट नॉट एलिजिबल है, देन इंपोर्ट अगर अनरजिस्टर्ड करता है, इंपोर्ट अगर कंपोजिशन पर्सन करता है, यहां पर रिसिपिएंट आईटीसी नहीं ले सकता। एंड नेक्स्ट केस इज सेल किया है B2B, बट उसने आईटीसी नहीं लिया विद इन द टाइम प्रिस्क्राइब्ड अंडर 16(4), वो हम जानते हैं। तो इन सब केस में आईजीएसटी सेटलमेंट होगा। इंपोर्टर भी सेम बात, ठीक है। मैथोडोलॉजी फॉर अपॉर्शनमेंट, the IGST paid on the supply mentioned above shall be apportioned amount of the tax calculated at the rate equivalent to the CGST on intrastate supply shall be apportioned to the central government, shall be apportioned to the central government. Balance amount of the IGST remaining in IGST shall be apportioned to the state government where such supply takes place, and to the central government such supply takes place in the UT. Third, if the place of the supply made by the taxable cannot be determined separately, the balance amount shall be apportioned each of the central and state government in proportion to the total supplies made by the taxable person. इसका एग्जांपल क्या होगा? अब सपोज करो मैं B2B सप्लाई, B2C सप्लाई, अब एवरी मंथ में क्या होता है, ऐसा पॉसिबल हो सकता है कि कुछ फंड रिमेन लाइंग इन द आईजीएसटी अकाउंट। हो सकता है किसी ने अपना रिटर्न फाइल नहीं किया हो सकता है किसी ने रिटर्न फाइल किया हो बट उसने B2C सप्लाई प्रॉपर्ली नहीं दिखाई हो। देयर कुड बी द पॉसिबिलिटी ना कि आईजीएसटी में 100 रुपए आया, बट जो ये अभी ऊपर ट्रांजेक्शन रीड किए थे हमने, उसमें से मान लो 80 रुपीज हैज बीन आइडेंटिफिएबल टू ईच ट्रांजेक्शन सेपरेटली। Now the 20 rupees which is excess lying in the IGST account will also be settled. But वो कैसे settled होगा? इस 20 rupees का 50% goes to the central government and 50% जो कि 10 रुपए will goes to the all state government. Not identifiable तब, ठीक है। Apportionment of the interest penalty compounding realized, the interest penalty and compounding amount realized in connection with the IGST shall also be apportioned. Transfer of the apportioned tax to the account of central or state government. ठीक है। Apportionment of IGST in respect of B2C supply where ITC is taken by the recipient. Amount of the IGST in respect of B2B supply where ITC is being taken, that is IGST not apportioned above. हमने बात नहीं की ना। For the time being in force, on the recommendation the council be apportioned in the rate of 50% to the center, 50% to the state government on ad hoc basis. Such amount will be adjusted against the amount apportioned under subsection 2 and subsection 3. ठीक है। एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन अंडर जीएसटी, ऑफिसर जीएसटी लॉ में क्या क्या ऑफिसर है हम बात कर चुके हैं, हम नीचे से स्टार्ट करते हैं। यहां से एक मिनट की लीव इट। प्रिंसिपल चीफ कमिश्नर, देन चीफ कमिश्नर, देन प्रिंसिपल कमिश्नर, देन कमिश्नर, देन एडिशनल कमिश्नर, देन ज्वाइंट कमिश्नर, देन डिप्टी कमिश्नर, ठीक है, असिस्टेंट कमिश्नर, ठीक है, ये लेवल खत्म। फिर हम बात करें कमिश्नर ऑफ सेंट्रल टैक्स ऑडिट, कमिश्नर ऑफ सेंट्रल टैक्स अपील, एडिशनल कमिश्नर ऑफ सेंट्रल टैक्स अपील एंड जॉइंट कमिश्नर ऑफ सेंट्रल टैक्स अपील। Further, the officer under the central excise shall be deemed to be the officer appointed under the provision of the CGST Act. Section 4 क्या कहता है? बोर्ड, बोर्ड मतलब CBIC. In addition to the officer as may be notified by the government under section 3, appoint such person as it think fit to be the officer under the CGST Act. Without prejudice to the provision of section 4, the board by order authorizing any officer referred to in clause A to H of section 3 to appoint officer of central tax below the rank of the assistant commissioner, like superintendent, like inspector. Section 5, subject to such condition and limitation as the board may impose, an officer of the central tax may exercise the power and discharge the duty conferred or imposed on him under CGST Act. An officer of the central tax may exercise the power and discharge the duties or imposed under the CGST Act or any other officer of the central tax who is subordinate to him. The commissioner may, subject to such condition and limitation as may be specified in this behalf, delegate his power to any other officer who is subordinate to him, notwithstanding anything contained in this section. An appellate authority shall not exercise the power and discharge the duty imposed on any other officer under of CGST Act. Authorization of officer of state tax or UT as proper officer in certain circumstances, section 6. Without prejudice to the provision, the officer appointed under SGST or UTGST are authorized to be the proper officer for the purpose of CGST, subject to the condition as the requirement shall, on the recommendation of the council, by notification specified. Subject to the condition specified in the notification, where any proper officer issues any order under CGST Act, he shall also issue an order SGST Act and UTGST as authorized by respective act. Where a proper officer under SGST or UTGST has initiated any proceeding on a subject matter, no proceeding shall be initiated by the officer of the CGST on the same subject matter. ये बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट प्रोविजन है, सेक्शन 6 सबसेक्शन 2 क्लॉज बी. ये प्रैक्टिकली कई बार काम आता है. प्रैक्टिकली क्या मतलब है इसका? अगर किसी मैटर पर एसजीएसटी ने वो मैटर पिक कर लिया फॉर एनी प्रोसीडिंग, सेम सब्जेक्ट मैटर कैन नॉट बी पिक्ड बाय द सीजीएसटी ऑफिसर, बट अगेन डीजीजीएसटी, डीजीजीआई, डायरेक्टर जनरल ऑफ जीएसटी इन्वेस्टिगेशन इंटेलिजेंस, एंटी विजन, इनके पास पैन इंडिया का जुरिस्डिक्शन है. डीजी जीएसटी, डीजी ऑडिट, जो डायरेक्टर जनरल है, उनके पास पैन इंडिया का पावर है. इट मींस दे कैन पिक, सपोज मिस्टर ए whose proceeding is going on by the SGST officer, DGGST, Director General of let's say Delhi can also pick the same matter. क्यों? क्योंकि उनके पास पैन इंडिया का पावर है. Appointment of officer under IGST, the board may appoint such officer as it may think fit. Then authorization officer of the state as proper officer in certain circumstances without prejudice to the provision of IGST. Officer appointed under IGST are authorized to be the proper officer for the purpose of IGST, subject to such condition, restriction, recommendation as may be notified. Special procedure for corporate debtor undergoing the corporate insolvency resolution process. IBC, once an entity defaults certain threshold amount, corporate insolvency resolution process get triggered and the management of such entity, corporate debtor and its asset vest with an interim resolution professional, IRP or resolution professional. The IRP or RP continue to run the business and operation of the said entity as a going concern and is responsible for compliance with all the law till the insolvency proceeding is over and an order is passed by the NCLT. The definition of the term corporate debtor, CIRP, IRP, RP can be referred from IBC. Government has prescribed the special procedure under section 148. अभी हमने बात की थी ना, section 148 में additional power है to specify the special procedure for corporate debtor who are undergoing the CIRP under the provision of IBC and the management of whose affair are being undertaken. Notification 11, circular 138 are being issued in this behalf. The corporate debtor who is undergoing CRP is to be treated as distinct person of the corporate debtor and shall be liable to take a new registration in each state or UT where the corporate debtor was registered earlier within 30 days of the appointment. However, the corporate debtor who has not been defaulting in furnishing R1 and the return GST would not be required to obtain separate registration. The new registration of by IRP or RP shall be required only once, and in case of any change after initial appointment, it would deem to be the change of authorized signatory and it would considered as a distinct person. Manner of determining commencement and termination of the term. Section 9 of General Clause Act. 9 of the General Clause Act lays down the provisions relating to the commencement and termination of time stipulate that in any central act or regulation made after the commencement of this act, it shall be sufficient for the purpose of excluding the first in a series of the days or any other period of the time to use the word from, and for the purpose of including the last in the series of the days to use the word. So एक अच्छा जजमेंट था सुप्रीम कोर्ट इन केस ऑफ इकॉन एंट्री लिमिटेड वर्सेस मैसर्स राम इंडस्ट्रीज हैज आल्सो टेकन एक बार ये रीड करते हैं. इन सिंपल टर्म्स, while computing the time, the rule to exclude first day and to include the last day. अब कई बार हम काम करते हैं ना, कैलकुलेट करते हैं ना, 30 डेज की काउंटिंग में 3 तारीख को ऑर्डर इश्यू हुआ तो 3 काउंट होगा या नहीं होगा, तो ये 3 काउंट नहीं होगा, ये जनरल क्लॉज एक्ट कहता है. कोर्ट हैव हेल्ड दैट वर्ड फ्रॉम इज अकिन टू आफ्टर, and that the word from, if used for the purpose of and in reference to the computation of time from a stated date, that stated date is prima facie excluded from computation. Although some occasion, court have taken a view that the question as to whether the stated date should not be so excluded should be decided according to the context in which the word from has been occurred. Similar view क्या लिया था, that while computing the period of the limitation, the day on which offense is committed has to be excluded. Another point which need mention here is that 33 section 3 subsection 35 month means according to the British calendar. Further, Allahabad High Court has held that where the legislature has stipulated the period of limitation in terms of month, such stipulation can only be in a calendar month and not 30 days. Please note, 30 days नहीं है, वो calendar month है. ठीक है. I hope it is clear. Now we'll take a break of 10 minutes and we'll resume again to complete the job work chapter. Now we have the one more chapter, that is job work. We will complete after that. So अशोक जी एक बार 10 मिनट का ब्रेक स्टार्ट कर दीजिए. So now the today we are ending the GST topic. Job worker is the last topic and it is a very simple topic that I can say. ठीक है. And उसके बाद क्या होगा, जो next Sunday होगा, that will be statutory update class. So job work की अगर मैं बात करूं, सबसे पहले डेफिनेशन की बात करते हैं. जॉब वर्क का मतलब क्या होता है? जॉब वर्क का मतलब होता है एनी ट्रीटमेंट और सी जॉब वर्क है क्या? एनी ट्रीटमेंट और प्रोसेस अंडरटेकन बाय ए पर्सन ऑन गुड्स. किसके गुड्स है? विच इज बिलोंगिंग टू अनदर रजिस्टर्ड पर्सन. ये इंपॉर्टेंट डेफिनेशन है, इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट है कि अगर कोई काम करते हो, आप कोई भी काम करो, लेकिन वो किसके होने चाहिए? वो गुड्स होने चाहिए किसी अनदर रजिस्टर्ड पर्सन के. अगर अनदर पर्सन जिसके गुड्स पर आप काम कर रहे हो वो रजिस्टर्ड पर्सन नहीं है, तो इट कैन नॉट बी जॉब वर्क एट ऑल. ठीक है. द पर्सन विच डज द सेम विल बी ट्रीटेड एज जॉब वर्कर. ठीक है. दूसरा बात, जॉब वर्कर है क्या? अगर आप शेड्यूल 2 में जाओगे, अगर आप शेड्यूल 2 में जाओगे, देन एंट्री नंबर 3 सेज कि दैट एनी ट्रीटमेंट या प्रोसेस विच इज अप्लाइड ऑन अनदर पर्सन गुड्स इज ए सप्लाई सर्विस. देखना यहां गौर कीजिए, यहां पे लिखा अनदर पर्सन, यहां पे अनदर रजिस्टर्ड पर्सन नहीं लिखा. क्या डिफरेंस हुआ? मतलब मैं कोई भी काम करूं वो है तो सर्विस, बट अगर मैं रजिस्टर्ड पर्सन के गुड्स पर कोई ट्रीटमेंट या प्रोसेस करता हूं तो ये काम क्या कहलाएगा? जॉब वर्कर कहलाएगा. और जॉब वर्क जो है उसके लिए स्पेशल प्रोसीजर गिवन है इन सेक्शन 143. दिस इज द टू डिफरेंस. एंड नेक्स्ट इज द प्रिंसिपल द जॉब वर्क इटसेल्फ एक्सप्लेन द. ठीक है, दैट इज ओके. अब हम आते हैं स्पेशल प्रोसीजर में. व्हाट आर द स्पेशल प्रोसीजर्स? पहला पॉइंट, प्रिंसिपल कैन सेंड द गुड्स टू जॉब वर्कर विदाउट पेमेंट ऑफ टैक्स. ठीक है. A registered person is allowed to send the input या कैपिटल गुड्स. अगर मैं वर्ड खाली इनपुट यूज करता हूं, डज इट मीन इट इंक्लूड सर्विस ऑल्सो? यस और नो? अगर मैं खाली वर्ड इनपुट यूज करता हूं, डज इट मीन दैट इट इंक्लूड द सर्विस ऑल्सो? मुझे गुड्स ओनली इज एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट, क्योंकि इनपुट की डेफिनेशन ही कहती है इनपुट मींस गुड्स अदर देन कैपिटल गुड्स. तो इनपुट अगर मैं खाली यूज करता हूं, इट डज नॉट मीन इट इंक्लूड द सर्विस ऑल्सो. नो, सर्विस अगर बोलना होगा तो मुझे स्पेसिफिकली बोलना पड़ेगा इनपुट सर्विस is allowed to send the input or capital goods without payment of tax. And from there to another job worker, and after completion of job worker bring back such goods without payment of tax, or remove the processed goods from the job worker premises for supply to the customer. Such goods need to be removed under intimation to the proper officer and subject to the certain prescribed conditions. Principal is not required to reverse the ITC availed on input or capital goods dispatched to the job worker without payment of tax. अब प्रिंसिपल क्या कर सकता है? वो गुड्स पहले अपने प्रीमाइजेस में मंगा सकता है वेंडर से, एंड देन प्रिंसिपल कैन सेंड द गुड्स, और ही कैन डायरेक्टली सेंड द गुड्स टू द जॉब वर्कर. ठीक है. देन अब ये जो गुड्स या कैपिटल गुड्स भेजा है, जो इनपुट या कैपिटल गुड्स भेजा है, इट हैज टू कम बैक विद इन ए स्पेसिफाइड पीरियड. क्या पीरियड स्पेसिफाइड? द पीरियड इज 1 and 3 year रिस्पेक्टिवली. मतलब नॉर्मल टाइम लिमिट एंड देन स्पेसिफाइड एडिशनल टाइम लिमिट. नॉर्मल टाइम लिमिट क्या? इनपुट के लिए 1 year एंड कैपिटल गुड्स के लिए 3 year. ठीक है. देन इट कैन बी एक्सटेंडेड आफ्टर द अप्रूवल. It can be extended after the approval 1 more year and 2 more year. क्या मतलब हुआ? इनपुट के लिए ओरिजिनल टाइम कितना है? 1 year. और कितना और एक्सटेंड हो सकता है? 1 more year. तो 1 + 1, टोटल टाइम लिमिट इज 2 year. कैपिटल गुड्स के लिए ओरिजिनल टाइम कितना है? 3 years। कितना और एक्सटेंड हो सकता है? 2 more year। मतलब क्या है? 3 + 2 टोटल 5 years। ये जो टाइम लिमिट है ना, ये टाइम लिमिट जो कैपिटल गुड्स में बात करते हैं, दिस टाइम लिमिट डज नॉट एप्लीकेबल इन केस द मोल्ड डाइज जिग्स फिक्चर्स और टूल्स, क्योंकि ये एज्यूम किया जाता है कि ये इस प्रोसेस में ही कंज्यूम्ड हो जाएंगे। करेक्ट? ठीक है। जब प्रोसेस कंप्लीट हो जाएगा तो जॉब वर्कर कैन सेंड द गुड्स टू द अनदर जॉब वर्कर और कैन सेंड कंप्लीट होने के बाद में डायरेक्टली टू द प्रिंसिपल। अनदर जॉब वर्कर को भेज सकता है, वापस प्रिंसिपल को लौटा सकता है, या डायरेक्टली सेल कर सकता है एज पर द इंस्ट्रक्शन ऑफ द प्रिंसिपल। 3 जगह भेज सकता है, या तो प्रिंसिपल को रिटर्न कर सकता है या दूसरे जॉब वर्कर को भेज सकता है फॉर फर्दर प्रोसेसिंग, और अल्टीमेट कस्टमर को भेज सकता है जैसा प्रिंसिपल बोले। अब अगर वो सप्लाई करता है, सी अगर गुड्स, सी थर्ड केस की बात कर रहा हूं, ये वाले केस में एक एडिशनल कंडीशन है। मतलब अगर अल्टीमेट कस्टमर को सेल करना चाहते हैं फ्रॉम द प्लेस ऑफ द जॉब वर्कर, कैन प्रिंसिपल सेल द गुड्स डायरेक्टली फ्रॉम द जॉब वर्कर प्रीमाइसेस? आंसर इज यस। बट यहां पे एडिशनल कंडीशन क्या है? एडिशनल कंडीशन है सप्लाई द गुड्स डायरेक्टली फ्रॉम द जॉब वर्कर प्लेस आफ्टर प्रोसेसिंग ऑफ द गुड्स, सॉरी, ये तभी हो सकता है जब या तो जॉब वर्कर रजिस्टर्ड हो, या तो जॉब वर्कर रजिस्टर्ड हो, या उसकी प्रीमाइजेस एज एन एडिशनल प्लेस में शो की गई हो बाय द प्रिंसिपल। क्लियर? 2 पॉइंट कि आइदर द जॉब वर्कर शुड बी रजिस्टर्ड, तो ये जो थर्ड वाला पॉइंट हमने रीड किया था, द प्रिंसिपल कैन सेंड द गुड्स डायरेक्टली फ्रॉम द, कैन सेल द गुड्स डायरेक्टली फ्रॉम द प्रीमाइजेस ऑफ द जॉब वर्कर। अगर नहीं तो इट हैज टू बी डिक्लेयर द प्रीमाइजेस एज एन एडिशनल प्लेस ऑफ बिजनेस। However, such a declaration is not required अगर जॉब वर्कर रजिस्टर्ड है या नोटिफाइड गुड्स है। अब एक बात आती है, प्रिंसिपल जब गुड्स सेंड करेगा जॉब वर्कर को तो क्या प्रोसीजर है? बिफोर सप्लाइंग द गुड्स टू द, एक सर्कुलर 38 आया था which has given the detailed process, which has given the detailed process for the for the goods, for the sending the goods to the job worker। ठीक है, बात कर लेते हैं। एक सेकंड। Before supplying the goods to the job worker, the principal would be required to send intimation to the proper officer। क्या वर्ड लिखा है? बिफोर। इसका मतलब क्या होगा? प्री इंटीमेशन या पोस्ट इंटीमेशन है? प्री इंटीमेशन है कि पोस्ट इंटीमेशन है? प्री। बट एक्चुअली होता क्या है? होता पोस्ट है। मतलब प्री इंटीमेशन नहीं है। लॉ के हिसाब से प्राइमा फेसी इट अपियर कि दैट इट हैज टू बी सेंट बिफोर, बट गवर्नमेंट हैज गिवन द रिलैक्सेशन एंड उन्होंने कहा एक फॉर्म फाइल होता है। हैव यू एनी आइडिया अबाउट व्हिच फॉर्म इज टू बी फर्निश्ड? एनी आइडिया अबाउट व्हिच फॉर्म इज टू बी फर्निश्ड? एनी आइडिया व्हिच फॉर्म इज टू बी फर्निश्ड? ITC 04। एंड ITC 04 का जो डेट है ना, वो अगर स्मॉल टैक्स पेयर है अप टू 5 करोड़ तो उसे ईयरली फाइल करना होता है। लार्ज टैक्स पेयर है तो उसे 6 मंथ के लिए फाइल करना था। मतलब जो 6 मंथ ने उसने माल भेजा, दैट इंटीमेशन हैज टू बी गिवन आफ्टर द एक्सपायरी ऑफ द 6 मंथ। इसका मतलब क्या हुआ? ये बिफोर नहीं है, ये आफ्टर है। लॉ में बिफोर है, यहां बिफोर करेक्ट है, बट एक्चुअली मैं बात करूं ITC 4 विच इज एन इंटीमेशन विच इज फर्निश्ड आफ्टर। intended to be sent by and the nature, the said intimation should also contain the details of the other job worker if any. ठीक है, the input or capital goods shall also be sent to the job worker under the cover of the delivery challan issued by the principal. The delivery challan shall be issued even if for the inputs or capital goods directly to the job worker. The delivery challan shall contain the specified details along with the delivery challan. An electronic way bill shall be issued as per the relevant provision under GST law and the related rules. आगे बढ़ते हैं. Responsibility for keeping the accounts is lies with the principal. अगर गुड्स रिसीव नहीं होते विद इन स्टिपुलेटेड टाइम, व्हाट इज द नॉर्मल टाइम लिमिट? 1 year and 3 year. एंड एक्सटेंडेड टाइम पीरियड कितना है? एक्सटेंडेड टाइम पीरियड कितना है? फॉर इनपुट कितना? फॉर इनपुट एंड फॉर कैपिटल गुड्स कितना है? हाउ मच फॉर इनपुट, हाउ मच फॉर कैपिटल गुड्स? इनपुट का ओरिजिनल टाइम लिमिट 1 year है, कैपिटल गुड्स का ओरिजिनल टाइम लिमिट 3 year. और इट कैन बी एक्सटेंडेड बाय 1 more year फॉर इनपुट एंड 2 more year फॉर कैपिटल गुड्स. अगर ये वापस नहीं आता then it shall be deemed to be the supply. अब क्वेश्चन ये आता है कि ये सप्लाई कौन सी डेट की मानी जाएगी? जिस डेट पर ये टाइम एक्सपायर होता है तब की मानी जाएगी या सिंस बिगिनिंग मानी जाएगी? ये कहता है कि it shall be deemed to be the supply when it was sent for job work. मतलब एक्सपायरी पीरियड पर नहीं, ये since beginning. It means the principal has to pay the tax along with interest. ठीक है. The date of the supply shall be the date on which such input were initially sent to job worker. Further interest will also be applicable, that we have discussed. If the goods are returned by the job worker after the stipulated time period, same would be treated as a supply by the job worker to the principal and job worker would be liable to pay GST. पर अगर वो registered होगा तभी. Further, it may be reiterated that there is no requirement of either returning back or supplying the goods as far as molds, dies, jigs, fixtures are concerned. ठीक है. अब बात करते हैं सेक्शन 19 की. सेक्शन 19 taking input tax credit in respect of input and capital sent to the job worker. The principal shall, subject to the conditions and restriction as may be prescribed, be allowed to take the ITC on input sent to job worker for job work, notwithstanding anything contained in 16(2)(b). Can you tell me what is the 16(2)(b)? Can you tell me what is the 16(2)(b)? 16(2)(b) क्या चीज है? Condition for availing the ITC. Absolutely correct. Condition for availing the ITC. Receipt of goods. Absolutely correct. मतलब अब देखो, क्या अगर प्रिंसिपल डायरेक्टली जॉब वर्कर के यहां पे भेज देगा तो क्या प्रिंसिपल वो कंडीशन सेटिस्फाई करेगा 16(2)(b) वाली? आइडियली सेटिस्फाई करेगा. आंसर इज नो. देन दे आर मेक 19 subsection 2. Read 19 subsection 2. It is saying कि notwithstanding anything contained in 16(2)(b. मतलब ये 16(2)(b) को ओवरराइड कर रहा है. The principal shall be entitled to take the credit if the input are directly sent to the job worker without being first brought to his place of business. तो जॉब वर्क के केस में क्या चीज ओवरराइड करती है? 19(2) is overriding the 16(2). When the input sent to the job worker are not received back by the principal after completion of job worker or otherwise are not being supplied from the place of the job worker within 1 year being sent out, it shall be deemed such input being supplied. तो ये deeming provision हो गया सप्लाई का. provided that where input are sent directly to a job worker, the 1 year shall be counted from the date of the receipt of the input by the job worker, not the date on which the vendor has supplied the goods. ठीक है, सेम बात कैपिटल गुड्स के लिए लिखिए कि कैपिटल गुड्स में वो 16(2)(b) वाला प्रोविजन एप्लीकेबल नहीं होगा, और 1 साल की जगह वो 3 साल की अगर नॉट रिसीव्ड बैक बाय द प्रिंसिपल विद इन पीरियड ऑफ 3 ईयर, तो ये डीम सप्लाई मान लिया जाएगा, और किस दिन से उसको रिसीव हुआ वो दिन काउंट, वहां से वो पीरियड का काउंटिंग होगा। एंड मुल्डाइजिक्स फिक्चर्स पर ये प्रोविजन एप्लीकेबल नहीं होगा। ठीक है, अब हम बात करते हैं रूल 45 की। What is the rule 45? Condition and restriction in terms of input and capital goods sent to job worker. The input, semi-finished goods and capital goods shall be sent to the job worker under the cover of the challan issued by the principal, including where such goods are sent directly to the job worker. मतलब चालान बनाना इंपॉर्टेंट है इवन दो गुड्स का मूवमेंट डायरेक्टली है। रूल 45 clearly specify that when the goods are sent from one job worker to the another job worker, the challan may be issued either by the principal or the job worker sending the goods to the another job worker, provided that challan issued by the principal may be endorsed by the job worker, indicating therein the quantity and description of the goods where the goods are sent by one job worker to the another or are returned to the principal. Provided further that the challan endorsed by the job worker may be further endorsed by another job worker, indicating the quantity, description, where the goods are sent by one job worker to the another or are returned to the principal. ठीक है, the challan issued by the principal to the job worker shall contain the detail specified in the rule 55. Rule 55 डिलीवरी चालान की बात करता है। ठीक है, the details of the challan shall be included in ITC 04. तो जो चलान है वो चलान की जो डिटेल है वो ITC 4 में हमें इंटीमेट करनी पड़ती है डिपार्टमेंट। ठीक है, बाय द 25th डे ऑफ द मंथ सक्सीडिंग द सेड पीरियड। तो इसकी ड्यू डेट क्या है? 25th ऑफ द मंथ सक्सीडिंग द पीरियड। अब पीरियड क्या है? पीरियड को दो पार्ट में डिवाइड कर दिया। अप टू 5 करोड़ है तो आपका ईयरली है, मोर देन 5 करोड़ है तो ये पीरियड क्या है? 6 मंथली है। ठीक है, द specified period means the period of 6 consecutive months commenced on or after on the first day of April and first day of October in respect of the principal whose AATO aggregate turnover exceed 5 crore rupees, and अगर up to 5 crore है तो financial year, मतलब specified period financial year है, where the input or capital goods are not returned to the principal within the time stipulated in section 143. It shall be deemed that such input and capital goods have been supplied by the principal to the job worker on the day when the said input or capital goods were sent out, shall be declared in the GSTR 1, and the principal shall be liable to pay the tax along with applicable interest. The expression capital goods shall include the plant and machinery as defined in the section 17 explanation. Correct? वो हमने Can you tell me any one plant and machinery का definition जो दिया गया section 17 में? Any one or two item which are there in the definition of the plant and machinery? कोई एक या दो आइटम? हाँ, very nice. Geet has given the answer. Expecting from all कि definition of the capital goods include the plant and machinery. What is the definition of the plant and machinery given in the section 17 का explanation? No problem. Pipeline led outside the factory premises, civil structures. Correct? वो एक एक्सक्लूजन था वहां पे, राइट? इंक्लूड सिविल स्ट्रक्चर, पाइपलाइन, और एक्सक्लूजन क्या था? अगर कोई फैक्ट्री प्रेमाइजेस के बाहर है तो वो इंक्लूड नहीं करेगा। पाइपलाइन लेड आउटसाइड द फैक्ट्री प्रेमाइजेस, और एक वहां पे एक्सक्लूजन और क्या था? एक कुछ टावर का था ना, Something tower is being also excluded. Which tower is being excluded? Telecommunication tower. Right. Very nice, Sanjay. तो अभी क्या हुआ वो हमने बात कर ली. एंड फॉर डिटरमाइनिंग द वैल्यू ऑफ द एग्जाम सप्लाई रेफर टू इन सेक्शन 17.3 में क्या क्या मतलब 17.3 क्या चीज का बात करता था? वैल्यू ऑफ द एग्जाम सप्लाई की बात करता था. प्लीज गिव मी वन एग्जांपल कि वेयर शेड्यूल 3 item is considered as exempt supply. Schedule 3 is considered as exempt supply. Give me one example or one entry. Give me one entry where schedule 3 has been considered as exempted supply. Schedule 3 का कौन सा आइटम है जिसको मैं exempt supply कहूंगा? Sale of warehouse goods before filing the entry for home consumption and sale of land and completed building. Very nice, very nice. Correct. RCM supplies, will it be exempt or will it not be exempt? Outward RCM, will it be exempt or will it not be exempt supply for the purpose of 17.3 only? Will it be exempt or will it not be exempt? It will be exempt supply. Absolutely correct. ठीक है. तो अभी मैं ये एनालिसिस तो रीड नहीं करता. We have discussed all the points which are there. हाँ, जो जो डिफरेंट पॉइंट है वो डिस्कस कर रहा हूं. सर्कुलर 38 को लिंक करते हुए स्पेशल प्रोसीजर को कंप्लीट किया है. तो हम एक बार व्हेन डिस्कस कर लेते हैं. व्हेन गुड्स आर सेंट बाय प्रिंसिपल टू द जॉब वर्कर, वन जॉब वर्कर, तो क्या होगा? डिलीवरी चलान होगा और उसका इंटीमेशन आईटीसी 4 में जाएगा. ठीक है. एंड जब एक जॉब वर्कर किसी दूसरे जॉब वर्कर को माल बेचता है, गुड्स में मूव अंडर द कवर ऑफ द डिलीवरी चलान. Alternatively, the delivery challan issued by the principal may be endorsed by the job worker, sending the goods to the another, indicating therein the quantity. The same may be repeated for subsequent month, indicating therein quantity. ये वाला पार्ट ITC 04 में इंक्लूड नहीं करना है. अर्लियर ITC 04 which was covering this leg of the transaction also, कि एक जॉब वर्कर दूसरे जॉब वर्कर को माल भेज रहा है, तो that detail has to be given in this ITC 4. But later on that ITC 4 का requirement has been amended and removed that leg. और जब goods being returned, the job worker send one copy of the delivery challan as received by him from the principal while returning to the principal. When the goods are sent directly by the supplier to the principal of the principal to the job worker, मतलब principal को receive no but directly हो गया. In this case, the goods may move from the principal place or the business of the supplier to the place or business of the job worker with a copy of the invoice issued by the supplier in the name of the buyer. Job worker's name address should also be mentioned as the consignee in such case. Further, the buyer, that is principal, shall also issue the delivery challan and send the same to the job worker directly. ये फिर भी रिक्वायर्ड होगा जब जॉब वर्कर को डायरेक्टली माल मिल रहा है, फिर भी प्रिंसिपल को डिलीवरी चलान इश्यू करना पड़ेगा. इन केस ऑफ द इंपोर्ट ऑफ गुड्स which are supplied directly from the custom station, the goods may move on the basis of bill of entry and the principal shall issue the DC, delivery challan. When the goods are returned in piecemeal by the job worker, मतलब क्या हुआ? जब मान लो 1000 क्वांटिटी मैंने रो मटेरियल भेजा, लेट से क्लोथ भेजा, और वो कन्वर्ट कर रहा है जींस में, एंड लेट से पहली बार वो 100 जींस भेज रहा है, फिर 50 भेज रहा है, फिर 100 भेज रहा है, ऐसे करके पार्ट एंड पार्ट में आ रहा है. उस केस में डॉक्यूमेंटेशन क्या होगा? द चलान इशूड ओरिजिनली बाय द प्रिंसिपल कैन नॉट बी इंडोर्स्ड, क्योंकि एक ही बार होगा ना, मतलब अगर पीसमेल भेजेगा तो बार बार इंडोर्स तो नहीं होगा. देन इन दैट केस क्या होगा? फ्रेश डिलीवरी चलान इज रिक्वायर्ड टू बी इशूड बाय द जॉब वर्कर. सबमिशन ऑफ इंटीमेशन, इंटीमेशन किस में जाएगी? ITC 4 में जाएगी. अगर अप टू 5 करोड़ है तो एनुअल जाएगी, और अगर ग्रेटर देन 5 करोड़ है तो हाफ ईयरली जाएगी. ठीक है. ड्यू डेट क्या होगा? 25 अप्रैल होगा, और इसमें 25 अक्टूबर 25 अप्रैल दो चीज होगा. रिक्वायरमेंट टू जनरेट द ई-वे बिल। हमने ई-वे बिल का टॉपिक रीड कर लिया, राइट? वी हैव रेड द ई-वे बिल का टॉपिक, एम आई राइट? ई-वे बिल में कुछ एक रिक्वायरमेंट था ना, मैंडेटरी जनरेशन ऑफ ई-वे बिल। दो केस में मैंडेटरी रिक्वायरमेंट होता है ई-वे बिल जनरेट करने की। कैन यू टेल मी इन विच केस? In which case, even though my value is less than 50,000, but I need to generate the e-way bill mandatorily. That I'm asking. जॉब वर्क था, और दूसरा दूसरा अगर मैं जॉब वर्क को माल भेज रहा हूं इंटर या इंट्रा या दोनों केस में, मतलब इंटर स्टेट है या इंट्रा स्टेट या दोनों केस में, अगर प्रिंसिपल लोकेटेड इन वन स्टेट है, जॉब वर्कर लोकेटेड इन अनदर स्टेट है, मतलब मूवमेंट इंटर स्टेट हो रहा है, प्रिंसिपल टू जॉब वर्कर हो रहा है, इन दैट केस मैंडेटरी ई-वे बिल इररिस्पेक्टिव ऑफ एनी वैल्यू। रजिस्ट्रेशन रिक्वायरमेंट, वेरी सिंपल। द रजिस्ट्रेशन रिक्वायरमेंट, अगर प्रिंसिपल, अच्छा एक चीज बताना, प्रिंसिपल रजिस्टर्ड है इन स्टेट लेट से दिल्ली, और जॉब वर्कर रजिस्टर्ड है इन स्टेट लेट से हरियाणा। अगर जॉब वर्कर सर्विस, जॉब वर्कर का नेचर ऑफ ट्रांजेक्शन तो सर्विस है, राइट? अब जॉब वर्कर जो बिल रेज कर रहा है वो लेट से इसके टोटल एग्रीगेट टर्नओवर 20 लाख से नीचे है, बट वो जॉब सर्विस इंटर स्टेट है, क्या उसे मैंडेटरी रजिस्ट्रेशन लेना पड़ेगा? नो, until 20 lakh is not required to register. Registration requirement when both principal and job worker are located in same state. 20 lakh registration requirement when both are in different state, still 20 lakhs. ये रिलैक्सेशन अक्टूबर में आ गया था। सी, दिस रिलैक्सेशन वाज इशूड इन द अक्टूबर ओनली, एंड जो बाकी सर्विस प्रोवाइडर को रिलैक्सेशन दिया ना वो नवंबर में आया था। इट इज लॉन्ग बैक, नॉट रिक्वायर्ड टू रिमेंबर एट ऑल, बट ठीक है। Value of the goods after completion of job worker supplied directly from the premises of the registered job worker, not to be included in the aggregate turnover of whom, मतलब जॉब वर्कर जो कि रजिस्टर्ड है, अगर वो डायरेक्टली सप्लाई करता है कस्टमर को, जो भी उन्होंने कहा एज पर द प्रिंसिपल, तो इट विल बी इंक्लूडेड इन द डबल एटीओ एनुअल एग्रीगेट टर्नओवर ऑफ जॉब वर्कर और प्रिंसिपल। प्रिंसिपल ओनली। जस्ट मुझे एक मिनट दीजिएगा, जस्ट आई एम कमिंग बैक इन 1 मिनट, एग्जैक्टली 1 मिनट है, 1 मिनट का ब्रेक दीजिए मुझे। तो ये जो टर्नओवर होगी वो काउंट होगी प्रिंसिपल की, इवन दो जॉब वर्कर इज रजिस्टर्ड. The value of the such goods supplied will be included in the aggregate turnover of the principal and not the job worker. ये इंपॉर्टेंट है. सप्लाई द वेस्ट एंड स्क्रैप, notwithstanding anything contained, any waste or scrap generated during the process may be supplied by the job worker directly from his place on payment of tax if such job worker is registered, or by the principal if the job worker is not registered. चैप्टर छोटा था, कंप्लीट हो गया. एक बार हम इसके चार्ट को देख लेते हैं. प्रिंसिपल है, गुड सेंड कर रहा है आफ्टर जॉब वर्कर इन द प्रिस्क्राइब टाइम. कोई टैक्स है? नो टैक्स. और ठीक है, और वापस सेंड द गुड्स आफ्टर जॉब वर्क इज कंप्लीटेड विद इन द टाइम. टाइम हम पढ़ चुके हैं 1 year 3 year या 1+2. क्या जॉब वर्कर वापस गुड्स आर नॉट रिटर्न और सप्लाइड फ्रॉम द जॉब वर्कर प्रीमाइसेस विद इन द स्टिपुलेटेड टाइम, तो क्या हो जाएगा? डीम्ड सप्लाई बाय द प्रिंसिपल. डेट ऑफ द सप्लाई इज टेकन ऑन विच गुड्स सेंट टू द जॉब वर्कर या ऑन विच द time is expired. Just a quickly, it is very easy question which I'm asking. वो टाइम लिमिट काउंटिंग कब होगी? मतलब वो जो टाइम लिमिट एक्सपायर हो गया तो सप्लाई कब माना जाएगा? डीम्ड सप्लाई. डीम्ड सप्लाई विल बी ऑन द डेट ऑफ एक्सपायरी ऑफ द टाइम लिमिट या विल बी द डेट ऑन विच द गुड्स वर सेंट. करेक्ट, द डेट ऑन विच गुड्स वर सेंट. और अगर ये गुड्स डायरेक्टली सप्लाइड बाय द सप्लायर टू द जॉब वर्कर है, तो ये 1 year 3 year की जो काउंटिंग है वो कहां से काउंटिंग होगी? द डेट व्हेन द वेंडर हैज सप्लाइड और द डेट व्हेन द जॉब वर्कर हैज रिसीव्ड. When the job worker has received. Absolutely correct. Principal supplied the goods directly from the job worker premises within the prescribed time. Payment within the prescribed time limit. Export no tax. Supply within the principal to pay tax. प्रिंसिपल जॉब वर्कर की प्रीमाइजेस से गुड्स को सेल कर सकता है इफ जॉब वर्कर इज. द प्रिंसिपल कैन सप्लाई द गुड्स फ्रॉम द प्रीमाइजेस ऑफ द जॉब वर्कर इफ द जॉब वर्कर इज not if the job worker नहीं. तो प्रिंसिपल जॉब वर्कर के प्रीमाइसेस से कैस कब माल सेल कर सकते? अगर जॉब वर्कर या तो रजिस्टर्ड है, और अगर रजिस्टर्ड नहीं है तो क्या करना पड़ेगा प्रिंसिपल को? इफ जॉब वर्कर इज नॉट रजिस्टर्ड, देन व्हाट द प्रिंसिपल डू टू सेल द गुड्स डायरेक्टली फ्रॉम द प्रीमाइसेस ऑफ द जॉब वर्कर? He has to add the location of the job worker in the registration of the principal as an additional place of business. ठीक है. Time limit for returning the goods. Input 1 year extended 2 more year for capital goods. 1+1 3+2. That is clear. ठीक है. और ये जो टाइम लिमिट है, इट विल नॉट बी एप्लीकेबल इन विच केस? जो 3 साल का कैपिटल गुड्स का टाइम लिमिट है, ये एप्लीकेबल नहीं होगा किस केस में? इट इज नॉट एप्लीकेबल इन वन केस. विच केस? द टाइम लिमिट ऑफ कैपिटल गुड्स विल नॉट बी एप्लीकेबल इन वन केस. विच केस? Moldizings, fixtures, etc. बहुत बढ़िया. So by this we have completed our chapter. Let's spend 10 minutes for some quick revision of both the chapters. एक हमने बात की थी सेक्शन 155 में, बर्डन टू प्रूव फॉर इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट। ये बर्डन टू प्रूव फॉर इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट किसके ऊपर होता है बर्डन? दिस बर्डन इज ऑन whom? The person who is claiming that ITC. Absolutely correct. Is on the person who is claiming that ITC. Again, asking the same question. हमने डॉक्यूमेंट में एडमिजिबिलिटी ऑफ सम डॉक्यूमेंट थे, वो कौन कौन से थे? एक तो वो प्रिंट आउट समथिंग लाइक थे, वो डॉक्यूमेंट थे एडमिजिबिलिटी ऑफ द डॉक्यूमेंट। क्या GSTR1 एक रिटर्न है अंडर सेक्शन 39? क्या GSTR1 एक रिटर्न है अंडर सेक्शन 39? Correct. That question was the answer was correct. Electronic record printout, microfilm, etc. क्या GSTR1 एक रिटर्न है अंडर सेक्शन 39? नो। जीएसटी पोर्टल, कौन कौन से जीएसटी पोर्टल है गवर्नमेंट के? करेक्ट। ई वे बिल, ई इनवॉइस और GST.gov। एक हमने प्रोविजन रीड किया था, असेसमेंट प्रोसीडिंग नॉट टू बी इनवैलिड ऑन सर्टेन ग्राउंड। हमने बात की थी ये इनवैलिड नहीं होगा मियरली बिकॉज ऑफ एनी, मियरली बिकॉज ऑफ एनी। हमने तीन बात पढ़ी थी कि हाँ, मियरली बिकॉज ऑफ एनी मिस्टेक, और merely because of any mistake, or merely because of any mistake or omission। एक और था, कुछ और था एक। करेक्ट। अच्छा, संजय ने लिखा डिफेक्ट, वेरी नाइस। रेक्टिफिकेशन ऑफ एरर, रेक्टिफिकेशन ऑफ एरर ऑफिसर कब कब कर सकता है? जब ऑफिसर रेक्टिफिकेशन कब करेगा? when the officer will do the rectification? When the error appear on the face of record based on the identification by himself or by any other officer or by the applicant. What is the time limit within which applicant can request for rectifying the mistake on error? What is the time limit within which the mistake can be rectified? वो time request कर सकता है for rectification of any error. The time limit is 3 months, and officer can do the rectification max to max. Answer is 6 months. 6 months. And very nice. कौन सी एरर ऐसी है जिसपे कोई टाइम लिमिट एप्लीकेबल नहीं होती? नो टाइम लिमिट फॉर क्लैरिकल एरर। वो गवर्नमेंट ने एक नया प्रोविजन ऐड किया था, अगेन इट इज नॉट रिलेवेंट टू मच, बट यस ध्यान रहना चाहिए आपको कि गवर्नमेंट कैन एक्सटेंड द टाइम लिमिट इन स्पेशल सर्कमस्टांसेस। कौन सा प्रोविजन था? विच सेक्शन? ये सेक्शन बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट है, मतलब हमेशा रिमेंबर रहना चाहिए, क्योंकि कोविड के केस को, उस टाइम लिमिट को, मतलब कोविड का कॉग्निजेंस लेते हुए कुछ बेनिफिट भी दिए हुए थे और साथ में टाइम लिमिट इशू था, SCN भी इंक्रीज किया था उन्होंने। Correct. Section 168 capital A. What is the time limit? What is the form number for giving the details of goods sent by the principal to the job worker? What is the form number? ITC 04 एंड इसकी डेट बता दीजिए. What is the date of ITC 04? हाँ, अगर मेरी AATO, if my turnover of preceding financial year does not exceed 5 crore, then the due date would be, if my turnover does not exceed 5 crore, then my due date would be 25th only yearly. But अगर मेरी turnover exceed कर गई 5 crore से, then I have to file twice in a year, that is 25th October and 25th April. Correct. We have discussed, sir, there are certain ways of servicing of the notice. What was the mode of the servicing of the notice? आप जितना भी मतलब बता पाए उतना बता दीजिए. आपकी प्रैक्टिकल लाइफ के लिए मैं बता देता हूं, उसकी सीक्वेंस हमेशा याद करना कि मतलब जो था ना, पहले क्या था, दूसरा क्या था, तीसरा क्या था, मतलब सिक्वेंशियली याद करना. सेक्शन 169 की जो मोड ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन है नोटिस का, मोड ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन ऑफ नोटिस हमेशा सीक्वेंस याद करना. आप ट्राई करना सीक्वेंस आप याद कर पाए. जैसे ठीक है, हाँ मतलब एक ईमेल भी था, स्पीड पोस्ट भी था, कोरियर भी था, अफिक्सिंग ऑन द प्रेमाइजेस भी था, एंड देन सेंडिंग द नोटिस ऑन द जीएसटी पोर्टल भी था. करेक्ट. वो डायरेक्टली भी भेज सकते थे, और न्यूज़पेपर में भी कुछ पब्लिकेशन का था. बट देयर इज अ सीक्वेंस, वो सीक्वेंस आप याद हमेशा रखना, इट विल हेल्प यू. ठीक है. और एंटी प्रॉफिटरिंग का सनसेट क्लॉज कब से सनसेट हो गया, मतलब कब से एंटी प्रॉफिटरिंग के प्रोविजन बंद हो गया, मतलब एंटी प्रॉफिटरिंग will have the sunset clause and will be effective from which date? वन फोर 2025. एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट. मुझे बताइए, जो हमने बात की थी दैट पर्टिकुलर सेटलमेंट ऑफ आईजीएसटी, कौन कौन से ट्रांजेक्शन थे जिसपे आईजीएसटी का सेटलमेंट ट्रांजेक्शन के बेस पे होगा? Interstate supplies made to which transaction are being settled? Interstate supplies made to unregistered person. Interstate supply made to the which category of the registered person? का मतलब क्या हुआ? पीएससीई का मतलब क्या हुआ? What is the meaning of PSCE? Just asking. SCE. I don't know. अच्छा, ये आपने बनाई है ऐसा? वेरी नाइस. तो हमने बात की थी, अगर इंटरस्टेट सप्लाई मेड टू द अनरजिस्टर्ड पर्सन, मेड टू द कंपोजिशन टैक्सेबल पर्सन, एंड अगर मैं रजिस्टर्ड पर्सन को सप्लाई करता हूं तो विच सप्लाईज मेड टू द रजिस्टर्ड पर्सन, जहां पर आईजीएसटी सेटलमेंट होगा. कौन सी टाइप की सप्लाई है जिस पर आईजीएसटी सेटलमेंट होगा? बी टू बी ट्रांजेक्शन, जहां पर रेसिपिएंट इज नॉट एलिजिबल टू टेक ITC. And last is ITC availed by the recipient. It can be availed within the time period, but it has not been availed by the recipient within the time limit. मतलब 16/4 का टाइम लिमिट जो है वो एक्सपायर हो गया. अब बड़ा चैलेंज का बात है कि 16/4 का टाइम एक्सपायर हो गया, ये गवर्नमेंट को कैसे मालूम चलेगा? गवर्नमेंट को कैसे मालूम चलेगा? So for that I am giving one homework. Just refer. So जैसे Ayush, you told me that you have not seen the GSTR 3B. Just check the table 4D2, 4D for Delhi 2, and you can able to correlate some part with this IGST settlement. So now I am completing the chapter, but I'm giving you the table number which are linked for IGST settlement as discussed in the provisions. अब आप क्या करोगे? You go and check the following tables of the GSTR 3B. First आप check करोगे table 3.2. You write table 3.2. This will inform the sales made to unregistered person, sales made to the composition taxpayer. Table 3.2. Then check table 4B1, B for Bombay. B for Bombay, B1. It talks about where the recipient is not eligible to take the ITC, like 17 subsection 5. Third table I am talking about, table 4D, D for Delhi 2. It talks about the ITC not available because of the 16/4 or POS rules. ये जो तीन टेबल है ये मेजरली यूज होते हैं. These three tables are being majorly used for IGST settlement, which we have discussed in today's class. Fine. So by this, our course and my class is over, and we have the next class, last class on Sunday for statutory updates. Thank you very much. Goodbye to all of you. जी, session over. Thank you. Thank you.